Alright, 30 seconds to get our situation together, please, before we start conversations. Alright. I'm going to call to order the planning board, zoning board of adjustment. Sorry, for Tuesday, December 9th, 2025. This in-person and virtual meeting is called pursuant to the provisions of the Open Public Meetings Act. Both adequate and electronic notice of this in-person and virtual meeting has been provided by way of publication in the Hampshire County Democrat and Courier News newspapers on or about January 23rd, 2025 and January 19th, 2025. In addition, notice of the meeting was posted on the door of the Borough of Flemington Municipal Building located at 38 Park Avenue and any handicapped accessible entrances thereto. Posted on the municipal website, provided to the municipal clerk and distributed to all persons, if any, requesting copies of the same. This meeting is being recorded with both audio and video and may be rebroadcast. This meeting is a judicial proceeding. Any questions or comments must be limited to the issues that are relevant to what the board may legally consider in reaching a decision, and the forum appropriate judicial hearing must be maintained at all times. Please rise as you're able to salute.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Right, we have to roll call, please.
Mayor Carroll.
Yes.
Councilwoman Fedora. Here. Mr. Campion.
Here.
Skipping.
Here.
Ms. Weitzman. Here. Ms. Swingle. Here. Mr. Show.
Here.
Mr. Schwenger.
Here.
Mr. Josh Smith.
Here.
Mr. Mead.
Here.
Mr. Eichel is here.
He's here.
Can you,
Mr.
Mr. Eichel, you confirm your attendance, please? For the record.
Here.
Thank you.
Okay, we have everyone.
Did we do everybody else?
Yep. So I'll start the questions. Attorney Kaczynski. Here. Engineer Clerical.
Here.
Planner Manus is on her way.
She's on her way.
Engineer Truck.
Here.
All right, before we get going, can I have a motion? We want to amend the agenda slightly. If you have a copy of the agenda right now, what we're going to do is move the current items 8 and 9 into position 7 and 8, and the current item 7 into item 9. So in terms of, we put in Worksville, we're just here for a little discussion ahead before the public hearing, which will go on. We respect what everyone's had. Can I have a motion to do that? So move. And a second. Oh, we've got 2 seconds. When goes. We need everybody vote or
You can do it all.
all in favor of that?
Aye.
Anybody else?
Aye.
Okay, we'll take that as the aye. Thank you. Thank you, everybody. So now I'll move along with item 1, which is a time for public comment. This is a time for comments from anybody from the public, but not on anything that's on the current agenda. So if anybody has online has anything, please raise a hand. You in the room, raise a hand. All right, seeing none, we'll move on to item 2. My comments, please.
The only thing I want to just report on is that last night the council adopted into law the resident parking only around the new Union Square project. for all of Spring Street and Bloomfield Avenue from Spring to Broad and Maple Avenue from Broad to Spring. William Street from Main to Broad and Court Street. So those are going to be resident only, except I think I'm probably gonna look to do an amendment after talking to Jay at our next parking committee meeting next year, about making Court Street only residential only after 5 p.m. in case the businesses need more parking based on whatever happens on Main Street. And I think we had originally talked about eventually putting in meters and having the angled parking on Spring Street for the businesses in the plaza as well. So that also might be talked about in our next parking committee meeting. But for now, whenever the roads are supposed to reopen, Forester Place needs to be redone. It is a disaster. It's like a bombed out. And they're scheduled to do that sometime this month, if the weather warms up enough to do that road. But they're gotta get it done. We can't open up that project without Forester being open. And at which point Spring Street will be returned back to traffic. The council did approve in 2024 a new road plan, which I did report to the planning board in 2024. I'm just going to repeat what the plan is that Jay, our traffic engineer, designed, which is one way on Spring, the entirety of it going north to south. So from Bloomfield Avenue to William Street, that entire street will be made one way. Maple Avenue, which is currently one way east to west from Spring to Main, will become one way east to west from Broad to Main. Williams will stay one way the way it is. Forester will stay one way the way it is. And then there are weight restriction limits to 4 tons on Bloomfield Avenue from Spring Street to Broad, forcing all traffic and deliveries from Main to Bloomfield onto Spring. And then at Maple Avenue, Spring Street also is weight restricted to 4 tons, forcing all traffic that's heavy up to Main Street. So we're trying to put the majority of the traffic on Main Street. And, or if people want to get onto 202 down to William Street to take a right on Broad. So if they're going to want to head north, we're trying to push traffic on Main. If they want to head south, it'll be easier for them to make the right turn onto Broad to 202 at Church Street. At some point, traffic is going to become very difficult to make a left turn onto Main Street on Maple. So I think I got all that right, Jay?
You got that right. That was very well done, man.
So so that's all, the signage is all ordered. Mike's got it all. Mike Campion has all of it already, ready to go. So as soon as Spring is ready to open, the signage will go up. The chief of police is working on the permits and visitor permits for the residents, which already, this isn't that drastic because from Main Street east of all of Flemington is already restricted school days, where it's resident only from 7:30 to 4:30. So this is just one little more step for those few streets. And the goal is to put this in place as soon as we can, so that the residents that are here know what the new traffic patterns are. The road has been closed for 4 years, and of course, we've had a lot of new residents move in who don't know what the traffic patterns were. And then there'll be 205 new or more residents moving into the apartments. And they also won't know what they lost or missed. And that's really the goal, is to not take away anything from new residents. But push them into taking parking spaces out. Also, Beth, in conjunction with Chris Corsini, the municipal attorney, has been working on a new parking ordinance for privately owned parking lots in the DD areas with the parking committee that will allow, through use changes, landlords or owners of those parking spaces who have extra parking spaces to enter into private leases with anybody. So they can set their own price, they can undercut parking lots, and they will be able to lease out, based on the usage of their current tenants or owners, they'll be able to lease out extra parking spaces to residents who need more parking, to businesses who don't have enough parking for their own tenants, whoever they want. And Beth just sent me an updated draft, which I've not had a chance to read. She just sent it, right? Very fast, but I'm hoping to get through that in the next day or two. Of course, that would have to come to the planning board, and it would be a great thing, because the landlords will be able to, make a little extra money, and people will be able to rent parking spaces, for that extra car or their kid that's coming home or whatever they want. So, so that's my update. All on parking and driving in the town. So that's it.
Oh, very thorough. Thank you very much. All right, then item 3, council comments, please.
I also serve on the parking committee with the mayor. She did an excellent job in getting that through. And I'd like to thank Jay for his time and the mayor for making that happen, as I live in that area. And I've heard enough feedback from our residents about concerns. So it is already been being well received in my discussions. Thank you.
Is that it?
That's it.
Perfect. All right, thank you. Item 4, HPC comment, please, Dan.
HPC meetings next week, so I have nothing to report tonight.
Okay, since our last meeting, did you have the thing go through the council though? Was that happened in between, or was that before our previous meeting? Your CLG ordinance, did that go through?
I'm not aware. I'm not aware of the status of that one.
Okay. All right, thank you. Item 5, professional reports. Anybody, anyone have anything to report today other than what we're talking about on the agenda? Okay, then let's move on to new item 6, which is the update.
Actually, I think
No,
the minute.
I mean, approval of the minutes. My arrow is incorrect. Sorry. Approval of the minutes, they were issued. We have to go through them in turn. September 16th, 2025, regular minutes were distributed. Anybody got any comments or amendments to make to those? As they saw them? No, then can I get an motion, thank you, to approve those minutes, please?
So moved.
Sorry, second.
Can we do the roll? Yeah.
Yeah, just because certain people may not be able to vote.
Ms. Weitzman was the first?
Yes.
Okay, Ms. Weitzman,
Yes.
Councilwoman Fasar,
Yes.
Mayor Karen,
Yes.
Mr. Campion,
Yes.
Ms. Giffen,
Yes.
Ms. Wingle,
Yes.
Mr. Show,
Yes.
Yes.
Mr. Dashna,
Abstain.
Mr. Eckel,
Yes.
is all of them.
That's good. All right, so same with October 7th, 2025. Anybody have any comments or amendments to make onto those issue? All right, can I get a motion to approve those then, please?
So moved.
Sorry, second.
Mayor Karen,
Yes.
Councilwoman Fasar,
Yes.
Mr. Campion,
Yes.
Ms. Giffen,
Yeah.
Ms. Weitzman,
Yes.
Ms. Wingle, Mr. Show,
Yes.
Mr. Schwanger,
Yes.
Mr. Dashna.
Abstain.
Okay, and the October 7th, 2025 executive session minutes issued separately. Any comments or queries on those? All right, motion please.
Moved.
Second.
Mayor Karen,
Yes.
Councilwoman Fasar,
Yes.
Mr. Campion,
Yes.
Gifton,
Yes.
Ms. Weitzman,
Yes.
Ms. Swingle, Ms. Game. Mr. Shu,
Yes.
Mr. Schwenger. And Mr. Dashna.
abstain,
Okay,
All right, thank you. So now we will move on to the new item 7, which is the update on Worksville Road properties.
Actually, we wanna just do Spark first, which I think was 7.
Was it? Oh, I'm sorry.
It's okay.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, they can stay where they are, they can stay where they are.
Right.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah, because this is a simple one.
yeah, so I just wanna make the announcement, at the last meeting, we adjourned the Spark car wash application, or we advised it would be heard on December 16th. Once we went back and reviewed the prior adjournments, it was technically adjourned by way of a public hearing to tonight's meeting, so we're just going to make an additional announcement. So for anyone that thought they were going to be here for tonight's meeting, they're actually adjourned to next week's meeting of December 16th, same time, 7 p.m. without further notice. So,
Now, new item 8 is Worksville Road properties update. Thank you.
Good evening, all. Chairman, Mayor, Council, members of the board, thank you for taking us a little early tonight. My name is John Lanza, and I have the privilege of representing the owners of certain properties on Parker Avenue, identified as Block 45. Lots 11, 12, and 15, we applied for a preliminary site plan and subdivision approval with variances to subdivide those 3 lots into 19 lots and construct 18 townhouses on the lots as shown on the file plans. One of the critical areas, as pointed out by board engineer, was getting a access permit for Route 12. And we filed for that access permit back in January, and it's still being reviewed, and we're still having technical issues with it. And our engineer, I brought our engineer, Mr. Buckler, in here to further explain what he's done, if you choose to hear that, and the status of the application at this point. It appears from what we have so far that we're going to need to extend at least until the end of February, the end of March, to get the permit and proceed further with the application.
Right. What's our status here?
well, we've been continuing to adjourn the application, and I think one of the reasons why we wanted them to appear tonight is so we could understand why we were continuing to make the adjournments. If the board has any other questions, they can certainly ask. I think one of the questions, and I apologize, this may have been dealt with before, and I just don't recall. We need to make sure we know what the access permit will entail, so that we can make sure the plans properly reflected that are being presented to the board. Is that the reason why we want to do that
That's one of
first?
the issues, because as I understand, the DOT wanted us to purchase or to get an extra 50 feet towards the car wash, which is an impossibility. So that's why we have revised our plans for the application and asked for a waiver from that requirement. But as I said, the engineers here can explain exactly what the status is, what he's done, and where we are.
So you asked for a waiver from the DOT for the length of access.
For the, that is 50 feet, but there was other technical things that have to be done on the plans. So we can't do our plans until we get those plans, as the attorneys pointed out.
So,
Yeah, just to remind everybody where we are with this, we haven't had a full public hearing on the plans because we
We have
haven't
not.
had the full plans. So it's a very early stage in this situation. It's not like this is just done in an eye.
Right. But
Yeah.
that's
Absolutely.
correct. That's correct.
so one of my questions when you came in for completeness, and I asked, I think I've asked this question at least 3 times over the last 2 years, is why you also haven't applied for the DEP, which was something I suggested you do when you came in originally, not just the DOT, but because you're in a floodplain, you have a very complicated drainage scheme planned for this site. And, we've been waiting for over a year for the DOT, and now is this gonna be linear? So now we're gonna wait for another year for the DEP to review why it hasn't been done simultaneously, and let the DEP weigh in on the drainage plans.
Money.
Money?
money because it takes to invest in that and not get a road opening permit. The road opening permit is key for us to continue. If we don't get that, all this work would have been for naught. So this is the key to the whole project, that we can't get a road opening permit. And to be quite frank with the mayor on that question, that's why that hasn't been done, because then that's a lot of work that would go down the drain if we didn't get the road opening permit. So we're working on the road opening permit and we had no idea it would take this long to get it.
You mentioned a date, you wanted an extension till March.
End
What's
of
driving
March.
that date? Is that just a guesstimate at this point,
This is
whether
what-
DOT is going to respond or not?
This is what the engineer has explained to me that we need. I know they had supposedly so many days to respond to our last submission. And we have a little, maybe another 30 days in that request.
They have to respond to you within 30 days from today. Or
No, I think it was, when is it, Eric?
Within so they have 90 days to respond when they receive a submission. I think 90 days puts us sometime in, I believe, the end of February, March time period.
wait, 90 days puts you there, but we adjourn this in January.
No, we've made revised plans and resubmitted to the DOT. So every time
When did you submit those?
the revised plans were submitted last week, based on comments that they provided to us earlier in the year in August.
I think their first response was in August. So we've been working on this since August with the DOT submitting revised plans and working with.
Right. What does the board want to hear? Sorry, go on, Kelly, you were going to say something.
No, you let the board make sure it has all of its questions answered and comments, and then I can let you know.
So if the board doesn't grant you the waiver,
The extension.
no, the waiver on the 50 feet that the DOT's.
No,
Well, that's not for us to grant, that's.
Oh, yeah, oh, it's
That's
the
on the
DOT.
DOT for the waiver.
Okay.
From us, they need an extension.
Yeah.
Currently expires at the end of this year, I'm correct?
I mean, what I would think makes sense, I mean, this has been going on for a while, and I think it, under other circumstances, the board may have dismissed it without prejudice, allowing the applicant to come back later as opposed to continuing to grant extensions, but I think one of the reasons that we wanted the applicant to appear tonight is to explain the reason. And the reason right now seems to be they're waiting for the DOT and they expect the DOT to come back sometime late February, mid-March. So I think it makes sense to grant an extension until that time, and then if they still don't come, then it's up to the applicant to say if they want to continue to move forward while they simultaneously deal with the DOT and the DEP, or to withdraw and then reapply at a point in time once they have that a little more in place.
Can you just remember, can you be clear on the date that the DOT had to respond to you at this point? What was the exact date?
That's why I brought the engineer.
I don't have an exact date, but based on
Or 90 days from when you submitted it. Sorry, go back to what you said.
it is 90 days. I believe it's going to be March 4th.
Okay. So. Because it's a case that if we allow extension to the end of March, the chances of them having that DOT, whatever it is, whether it's an approval or not an approval or an agreement, is likely to be here, and then we will know the way it's going, more than likely. And if it's not, if they don't have anything at that point, then we really can reassess what is truly going to happen with this again. But it seems, I don't know how, I'd like opinions of others, it seems reasonable to allow them to at least wait for that decision to come forward on that 90 days. I don't know how I do it.
If I may, it's important to Flemington also to know what DOT is going to allow for this site. And what can be developed at that site if they're, what restrictions they're going to put on this, if any restrictions. I think it's important for everyone to know that, not just the applicant, but for the town, for any future development.
Any thoughts, anybody? I mean, like Kara says, we actually, it's been going on so long, we actually have every right to just say that's it, but, and we don't have to grant anything, but feel as that there's an active application into the DOT.
And there is also conflicting case law on the issue of what leeway, reasonable extensions we
Right.
should be granted. It's different.
I'm
I
just.
get all that with the DEP, but again, you know, the original plan that they brought us showed this vast open space with 18 houses and very, very, very few trees and landscaping with an underground mesh of pipes to take water off the site. And they testified to us that the HOA would not allow any trees to be planted, no shade trees, whatever. I mean, it's in complete violation of our tree tree ordinance, of state law on trees now. So like, without them going to the DEP as well, I don't know how we proceed to hear it, regardless of whether we wait for the DOT. Because it's all floodplain.
I don't. I understand what you're saying. The board, however, can condition its approval on other entities that have of higher jurisdictions than the board. But they can't require that to be provided prior to them making the decision. Now, in a lot of circumstances, just to your point, where I know where you're going with this,
It's about the time.
it makes sense to understand those things so that you don't have to come back for an amended approval. But we can't require that higher jurisdictional approval before granting ours. However, in proceeding without that, they do run the risk of that higher entity, the DEP, whatever that may be, coming back and saying, well, what you got approved by the board doesn't work according to what we're willing to grant, or based upon the permit you submitted, so you have to go back and get amended approval.
I mean, just
And then they run the risk of doing that.
we have a number of new members. I mean, just so they all understand, this application was made in July of 2023. They came before us the first time, I believe it was early December, late November of 2023. So this has been going on now for 2.5 years. So
And to that point, one thing I wanted to say, we've got, right now, Doreen's been getting a DOT permit or approval. As the mayor mentioned, there's also the DEP.
I mean, I
It
don't,
doesn't have approval from us yet. We don't have, we haven't done an approval at all at this point.
no.
So we're at a very early stage, so the fact that even if you get a DOT approval, there's nothing to say you'll get a DEP, and there's nothing, nobody's saying here that you'll get approval from this board either at this point, because we don't know what the site plan is at this point. We only know what you did 2 years ago. So I don't want anybody who's new, like you say, to think, oh, wait for the DOT comes and it's a done deal. It's not. We've still got a lot of hoops to go through. This applicant still has a lot of hoops to go through before we get to anywhere near that. And I don't want that to be assumed. If we allow them to wait and see what the DOT says, it doesn't mean it's going to go anywhere at that point, even if they give approval, but there's still lots of hoops to go through. I don't mean, you understand what I'm saying? I'm trying to say, I'm not trying to.
We have a very
say
detailed
what
technical
happened.
review from the engineer. We understand that.
Right, but I've also got to protect the town's money in terms of spending our professional time on this application too. There's also.
well, it's all escrow at this point, but that's another thing too, is your client needs to maintain the escrow. We had a lot of trouble with that in 24. So when you guys really haven't been here in 25, so we don't want our attorney having to call you and ask for more money.
And I'd like to propose that if we allow an extension to say sometime in March, I will agree, that is. Well, we expect to have an honest discussion at that point about where this project can possibly go.
Schedule him to come back on the first or second meeting in March, that's all.
Yeah,
Well, and at that point in time, what we could say is they either proceed on that day or request a further extension that they're being told right now isn't necessarily, may not be granted.
right.
So it's either
Yes.
proceed or that's where we are. And I think the 90 days that we have right now is notice that again, since there is conflicting case law on the issue, I think it satisfies that. I think it's reasonable and gives the applicant time to get the decisions from the DOT that it needs. And the board now understands why it's taken so long and what the reasoning behind that is, but, you know, we're letting everybody know that
I just.
this is where we're
One
going.
more question, I'm
Sure.
not sure if it's for Mr. Landa or the engineer. Is this anticipated to be the last back and forth with the DOT? Or could there be more?
There could potentially be minor technical issues, but I think ultimately the DOT will say that the intersection configuration is acceptable or not. And that's really the answer that we need.
But if they say not, is there gonna be another
Are you going to?
request in another 90 days?
It's a waiver from the separation from the car wash's property or their driveway.
This is what you're, this is all that you've applied now for.
It's a
that-
full access permit, but that's the waiver that's included. So
Okay.
it's either a go or no go. Is I think pretty much what it's gonna come
Okay.
down to.
And so I think what we're hearing is whatever decision you get from the board, maybe it may contain a condition, but maybe a condition of changing the plan, like making a revision, of changing a date, but things you know that you would be able to comply with or not comply with in order to advise the board of whether you proceed.
Correct.
Yeah, I think that's what we're expecting.
Yeah.
If we, it was to the last meeting in March, the second meeting in March, given to, that would be what we were expecting at that point. And we would, when it's not a guarantee that we provide extension, but it would depend on what is presented at that point.
So I think what we would do if the board is open to that, we can't give them an exact date right now because we haven't done our meetings for next year. I would recommend that they renotice for whatever date that is, but we can let you know what date that is once we do our dates for 2026. Notice for that date and then be able to either proceed or again, they can let us know where they are and go from there.
Right, yeah. Anybody else have any thoughts on that or any? We move forward that way?
Yeah. That works.
Okay.
One point of observation,
Mhm.
Kara said it's gonna require renotice.
Yeah.
I get the impression there's gonna be some substantial changes to the plan. At least that's the impression I'm getting. So you're gonna need to, if you're gonna establish a date for a public hearing or allow them to notice for a public hearing. I think you need to back that up by at least 3 weeks or so, that the plans are actually submitted so they can be reviewed for that public hearing.
Yeah.
Right, but well, my thought, ask Cara, my thought here is the end of March is to ask them to come to another update. Not scheduling any public
It's up to
hearing
you.
until we know where we're at.
It's up
No,
to
it's
you.
fine.
If you would like to do that,
Yeah.
that's fine as well.
I think that I will, the end of March would be for an update and dependent on what comes at that update is whether we schedule a public hearing or not. So, or you have to apply for another extension.
Understood.
Is that fair enough?
I would go with the middle one, I would go with the first meeting.
Well, Thursday said, I was thinking like too close to that date, it would give a few extra leeway of weeks, we do it at the end of the March, the second week of March, that's what I was thinking. Just in case they're like, because he wasn't quite sure of that day.
Wasn't finished with the date.
Yeah, is that all right? One more meeting, we haven't set the dates, I think that's.
We haven't, but that would, so if we stick with the
Also
second
together.
and fourth, would be the 24th of March.
I think, was that, did I send that one? Yeah, I did some preliminary ones for. We'll bring those up next meeting. With time.
Alright, so
Oh, you have them already?
So the motion, and I'd like to do this by way of a motion, just so it's clear, we have it on the record. That the applicant shall come back to the board at the board's second meeting in March, which we anticipate will be March 24th, but I'll let you know which one that is for sure. To give you an update on where they're looking to go. And
Specifically with regard to the DOT.
Correct.
Permit
Yep.
application they've made.
and then from there, the board will make a decision. Is to either schedule a public hearing
Oh,
or require that the application be withdrawn.
right. Okay, we have a, can I, somebody make that motion?
A motion, I'll second.
Yeah,
Ms. Wendell?
yes.
Ms. Boyson?
Yes.
Mayor Carroll?
Yes.
Councilwoman Fasora?
Yes.
Mr. Campion?
yes,
Ms. Giffen?
Yeah,
Mr. Show?
Yes.
Mr. Schlinger?
Yes.
Mr. Dodd?
I'm abstaining from this application.
okay,
So you can go to one more.
Mr. Eckel?
yes,
Thank you all. Have a healthy.
Merry Christmas. Oh, yeah, no, happy holidays. Hang on a second. All right. Okay. Let's move on to the new item. Is it 9? The next item.
Yes.
West Wellness. LLC, Block 47, Lot 8, application 2025-05. This is an extension of a previous public hearing. Continue this, all of your people were, witnesses were sworn in at that time. Again, Helen, it was.
No, we don't need, as long as everyone that is going to be testifying tonight has already testified before. Just for purposes of the continuation of the application, the last time they were here was September 16th. For purposes of marking the exhibits, the last exhibit that we marked for the applicant was A8, so anything goes forward would be A9. The last planning board exhibit was PB5, and I have a few more I'd like to mark tonight. Before we continue, I'm gonna mark as PB6. Mr. Clerico's December 2nd review letter. PB7 will be the Borough of Fire Safety's December 4th review letter. And PB8 will be Mr. Troutman's revised December 8th.
I also issued a memo on December 5th.
And we'll mark as PB9.
Well, I know I saw it, but yeah,
The board planner's memo of December 5th.
did everybody else see it or not?
It's on the website.
December 6th.
It's on the website.
6th,
For me?
December 6th.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
Probably the introduce it because it was at some point in the proceedings, just give us a précis of it as part of proceedings.
Okay, so that's just all the preliminary stuff and take it away.
Thank you so much. Good evening, Madam Chairwoman, Mayor, members of the board. My name is Nicholas Whitaker. I'm from Law Firm of Ochoa Streeto. I'm here on behalf of the applicant plus Wellness LLC. We're continuing this hearing from our previous hearing. When we were previously here, board expressed concerns relating to the variance relief we were requesting. Since the board hearing, and you will see tonight, we have removed majority of the variance relief we are seeking, and we are only seeking this one conditional use variance, the sign variance, and whatever relief might come up at this meeting. Without further ado, we'd like to call up our engineer to further his testimony relating to the revised plans and geography.
David. Again, Mitch Hardman with the Reynolds Group. We prepared the site plans. The first exhibit we have was presented at the last hearing. It's the aerial exhibit. It's M1 with a sheet, basically from a cover sheet in the set. But just to
Was
reorient.
this, I'm sorry, just for the record, was this submitted to the board in connection with your amended application or your amended submission, I should say?
This was the original plan.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay. So anything new, and you just got me through it, anything
Yeah.
new that hasn't already been submitted,
Correct.
Carla left and mark.
And this was, I testified on this plan last time, but just to make sure everybody's oriented, I think you know the property well. Obviously, the circle is on the northwest of the property. The property is outlined in blue as I have on the plan. We have South Main Street comes into the circle, Route 12, and then up to Rayville Avenue. North is basically right is left on the plan. What we have on the property is block 47, lot 8. It's approximately 1.35 acres. It's a largely developed property. There were 2 banks on there. First one is more on the south side. The second one is more on the north side of the property. Basically connected through to the 100 Shopping Center, much larger shopping center to the east. Just to what I'm calling our rear of the property. You can see the large expanse of parking. Roof of the building there. For access to the property, as you come around the circle, there's a one-way into the property. In between 2 banks, and then there's a one-way out the South Main Street. There are also access points for connections between our lot and the shopping center lot. Those 3 locations. For the one existing bank, there's a drive-through to the right. And for the other building, which is, as I'm pointing at, is proposed cannabis retail center. On the left, there was an overhead canopy there that has since been taken down. But that's the location of it, and that's the drive-through location. So that's pretty much the existing conditions. And again, at the last hearing, we talked about the proximity, or well knows the neighboring properties. As was stated, we're in a permitted conditional use on this property and in this zone. So as Nick said, we came in and there were definitely some changes to the plan, and so this is the new exhibit. So what this is our plan. This is our dimension plan, sheet 3.
And this was submitted already to the board.
That is correct. It's color rendered. It was revised 10/27/25. But I guess we'll mark this because it's color rendered and it has some proposed changes on it as well.
Okay, so this particular exactly colored exhibit
This
was
was
not
not,
submitted.
but this plan.
Colorized sheet 3 of the plan, last revised October 27, 2025, and we will mark that as exhibit A9.
But the orientation of this plan is the same as the aerial. It's just a blown up section. South Main Street on the bottom, again to the circle, Greenville Avenue. Yeah, the difference, some of the main changes, originally, bank, the center of the property building was going to be removed. That's now proposed to stay. So that's the existing bank building with the drive-through location. There's a parking lot to the south, which will remain, as well as the parking lot to the west, which is the South Main Street. The proposed Bless Wellness cannabis retail is in the darker brown. It's on the north end of the property. That's basically the configuration of the building, and the front of that is really what we presented at the last hearing. Is you should remember some discussion. The building basically faced to the east before, but it is now oriented to the west internally. Just a reminder, which has been a critical point with this whole project, that the property line on the east side is, as I'm sure highlighted here. So while it would have been great for us to have some more property for everybody behind it, we just do not have that property and are not able to do work on the other side of that line. We'll get to that when some of the other staff comments do come up on the plan. So as we showed, as I said, both those buildings will now be remaining with the reconfigured parking lot. We'll have 2 spaces in front of the Bless Wellness, 1 standard space and 1 TDA accessible space with accessibility straight into the building. Again, the reconfigured parking lot has 28 parking spaces. Per the ordinance, you'll hear traffic testimony aside from just straight ordinance, but per the ordinance, using your retail standard and your bank use standard, combining those two, only 13 spaces are required, and we're providing the 28 spaces on this plan, as I noted. To address some of the prior comments also, circulation was an issue. This got is part of where we got typically a variance situation before with impervious coverage. So again, coming in with a non-variance application, which was related to disturbance on the property. As you come into the site, we're striping out this area. There are 3 parking spaces along the circle. We're getting rid of those spaces, striping that area out. There's an island here, and this basically the center of the parking area, and we're striping to expand that island area as well. The purpose of that is brought up by your staff comments to direct the flow in a better pattern. So we'll get people obviously away from those 3 parking spaces and come in and make the right turn to this parking area. If there's spots right in front of the property, continue through to the bank drive-through. We, if you pulled in here and weren't coming to those, you can still continue to the east to the main shop there. And that's kind of the circulation directions that we have with this plan. One of the other things that's shown on this plan, the rendering that wasn't on the submitted plan, is a crosswalk for pedestrian access. Good comment by some of your staff members. Basically, to get to the proposed Bless Wellness building, you know, the bulk of the park in this area. There's a handicap space that exists to service Center Bank building, and there's the strikeout area with a cut through of the island. So what we're doing, we're going to continue that so pedestrian access can come through the island, continue to that corner to either proceed to the bank. We've continued the hatched crosswalk as well to tie into the basically striped crosswalk area for the ADA space and into the building. Now the difference on here, might picked up, to make this alignment work, we've just flipped where the ADA space was in the plan in your set versus this plan, because it made for the mobility and walking and the pedestrians better with this layout. So that's really the only change on this rendering in front of you that's not in the site plan. Again, to address that comments. Regarding landscaping, that was an issue that came up in the digital hearing around the Bless Wellness building. We were always providing a nice enhancement of the landscaping. That's basically stayed how we had shown. We have shrubs along foundation plantings along the building, along the walk. We have shade trees which we placed in the islands that we're keeping there. So we understand this is a visibility point along the circle. So we're, let's address the building up. We've done also along South Main Street, physically what we could do there. We knew there were comments from Beth and from staff about wanting to get more trees there, and we have provided. So there's one existing street tree, that's about all there is out there. Maybe 2 or 3 other trees on site. So we're providing additional 6 street trees along South Main. Along with that, the southerly parking area behind those street trees, we provide a hedgerow in that location wall to screen those trees. So we think that combination provides a nice buffer. Fortunately, on the north side here, again, with the property line and the narrow strip, there was only room for 1 additional planting in this northwest corner of the property. And we try to pick a species that match some of the other ones up the road there. So that's what we're showing for the enhanced landscaping on the property. Zoning on the property, really, as we testified at the original hearing, permitted conditional use. There are pre-existing non-conformities on the property. We're not changing any of them. I dealt with a lot of area, a lot of depth, front yard setback and rear yard setback. We had testimony at the prior hearings. No changes from this plan to the prior hearing. They all really deal with the position of this existing building, that east property line as well as the north of the property line. So no changes for that on the plan, or as I said, from the prior application. So that's really what we're presenting tonight. I would keep my initial comments to the point. We can go through staff comments to address more things that have come up. We have a full lighting plan is in the set. There are a few comments. Willing to work with staff to make any amendments or any changes on those.
Yeah. Is that yours?
Yeah, so I don't know if you wanted me to go through or if you wanted staff to go through their own.
Yeah,
comments.
if that's conclusion of the
That's
testimony, then we have
conclusion
our
of the testimony.
professionals comment and then the board can comment moderate.
Yeah.
Alright, so first we're gonna weigh in on the testimony we heard as an engineer, as the engineer, right? Yes.
Let me just start by saying, we had a fairly lengthy discussion. We had a fairly lengthy discussion, at the prior hearing with a number of recommendations relating to traffic circulation, relating to expansion of landscaped islands, and related to improvement of pedestrian access within the site itself. As presented, the major change you have here is that previously you were removing the bank and using that area for parking, and now you're basically trying to keep the bank, which is fine. That's your current proposal. Well, what was the reason why you didn't follow through on any of the prior recommendations, like relating to traffic circulation, relating to expansion of islands, all of which look to be feasible or possible? I don't see anything here that would preclude you from doing that.
Right.
Even the striping of the expansion of the islands by striping pavement, that was a recommendation to actually expand the landscaped islands in that area. What's prohibiting you from following those prior recommendations?
The main issue, honestly, is it kicks us into a variance situation
And what would the variance be?
for the impervious coverage. So right now, with your zone, it's a 70% maximum impervious coverage, and we're 61% change. And with a slight reduction with this proposed project. Once you disturb more than 2,000 feet or more than 200 square feet of new impervious, then it kicks in basically a reduction of 20% of the impervious coverage. So it'd be down to 50. So there was a lot of discussion at the last meeting, adding islands in or not. There were areas where we had discussed where we potentially could or would add them in. I'm not saying they weren't reasonable suggestions. It's just that it kicked us into a variance situation, and the decision was made to come, variance free with this application.
But that particular provision also has an allowance. You're correct. If you go over a certain disturbance, it triggers the standard, but the standard is either to reduce down to 50 or to do some on-site stormwater management. Are you saying there's no ability to do any stormwater management on this property?
Virtually none, and I did have some testimony. So the options, and again, due to existing site limitations, so there's basically no existing drainage system on the property or on really the directly adjoining site. There's only one inlet in Main Street, which is unfortunately on the uphill end of the site. So if we were going to provide some stormwater management, it would be difficult with a kind of standard bioretention basin, detention basin, to pipe it to get into that system. Other options as dry wells, we could potentially do the roof of the Plus Wellness Center and find a home. The soils in this area are not known to be good soils for draining for a dry well where there's no overflow option to provide. So that's a limitation. Any other features that we could provide, where the flow in the one area, even to provide with a prior design, there was potentially an option for some enhanced plantings for sheet flow across some of the areas, but at this layout, really none of the pavement will be sheet flowing over a large enough area of green space that we could enhance that with native plantings.
If I recall the prior plan, I think there was and this was all conceptual at the last one, because you didn't have a detailed design. But there was a proposal, I thought, to that back parking lot area, I guess I'll call it the southerly side of the property. That drains right now off into a grass area, and there was a proposal, at least a consideration proposal, to put some sort of a feature in that particular area. You're saying that's not possible?
We can look at that one. The one I recalled is that when there was parking in the center here, it was going to sheet flow over some native plantings in that location. But I can check the drainage pattern again.
Again,
Yep.
I don't want to compare apples to oranges, because the main difference here between this plan and the prior plan is, in the prior plan, you weren't retaining the bank. You were expanding parking where the bank currently is. In this plan, you're preserving the bank and trying to utilize other parking on the site.
Correct.
Again, you're gonna need to make your case to some extent before the board, but I know a lot of the repetitive comments in my report, I believe Beth picked up on a number of these comments, and I believe Jay did too, is that there was, like I said, fairly lengthy discussion on narrowing of driveways, improving pedestrian access to the building, improving landscaping as part of that, constricting or controlling better traffic circulation on the site. All of that came with adding to disturbance. With any consideration given to doing that and seek, if you did need variance relief, seek variance relief from the impervious coverage, at least make an attempt to reduce some of the impervious coverage to the best of your ability. And then ask the board for whether on the presumption that you have no ability to do on-site stormwater, I'm not sure that's been documented yet.
Right.
Ask for, the relief there. I said, I'll just say it, but not as I said in the report, it seems like we're sacrificing, if that's the right word, a lot of the prior improvements to the site for the basic sake of just avoiding the need for a variance.
Sadly, we are not the property owners for this property. Everything has to go through the property owners. We are just the tenant. There is 2 property owners for this site, so that was a decision made by the property owners, and we are just a tenant for this site trying to improve it.
When you're the applicant.
Absolutely, and that's why we're compliant with the code. We're trying to stay completely with the code compliant that the board has set forth.
Not that it necessarily matters, but I assume the reason to the amended plan to include the bank had something to do with the owners.
I was not involved in the discussion side.
Just for clarity, is that the property owner's position that is it the property owner that wants a compliant application? Or that that they're not supportive of improvements to the parking area, or both?
I can't speak for them. They are not my clients, but from the conversations that I had, they want this to be a compliant application with the code.
Well, again,
which is what this
the
is.
code gives you options. If you make an attempt to reduce, if in the process of making an attempt to reduce impervious coverage, you're triggering that section because you're disturbing, which is true. The code gives you an option to do stormwater to compensate for that. So you're not obligated to go down to 50%.
Again, I don't represent the owners. I represent the applicant. This is the application that we have set forth with minimal variance relief. We tried to do our best efforts to make this compliant. I think we've done a good job, and we're continuing to work with the board to make any such improvements that we can without triggering any further variance relief.
I have a question. I think I'm gonna let them sidebar. Triggering from what you've raised. I'm gonna let.
Sorry,
No, I have a question. I think it's the U2 triggered from what Bob has said. From what I'm understanding here, Bob is suggesting that so that the applicant has chosen to keep the disturbance to a point where it doesn't trigger their requirement to consider stormwater management works to be done. They have that right to do that. They have a right to choose to present a project that doesn't do that. Or the implication seems to be that because the site could allow that stormwater management to be done, they should ask for a variance and do that. Isn't that? They have a right not to ask for that.
They have a right to present the application and the relief that's necessary based on the code to this board. So they have chosen, despite the recommendations of the board's professionals, to present a compliant application. They have the right to do that. I think the board needs to understand, number one, specifically, again, I'll be clear on what relief is being requested, number one. Number two, what recommendations of the board's professionals they're not going to comply with, because usually one of our conditions is that they comply with all the recommendations, and we'll spell out, but for those particular ones. And then the board's essentially going to have to weigh whatever recommendations they're not willing to comply with, and the impact of those recommendations on the relief that they're asking.
Cause I must admit, my memory of what we were, why we asked them to come back and why we asked them to re-look at the site plan. Anybody else jump in and forgive me if I miss, I remember next. I thought they were looking at the landscaping to get themselves over to increase the impervious coverage by opening up some of the landscaping areas. So that it would
increase the pervious.
because they were the pervious coverage, so that they were triggered over into, because we were so, I felt like the previous application was so close to this percentage that we needed, and we said, if you just expand these areas, you'll get that. Now, am I remembering that?
You were
correctly?
remembering it
Yeah,
correctly,
well,
but,
parking lots and trees. Yeah.
But once they disturb to create that pervious coverage, it triggers, and then they have to do stormwater management also, is that?
right, and what we are hearing, the testimony that's been given is that they spoke with the owner, who is not in front of us, but
Mhm.
the applicant's in front of us.
Yeah.
The owner, they must have had some we're not gonna infer, but like there was
Mhm.
obviously, there's been a representation that a conversation was had, and whatever. The whatever cost or whatever have to be incurred by the owner of the property
Mhm.
to do the things that we were talking about theoretically
Mhm.
in how to get them there.
Mhm.
They've decided to go this way, and the problem is, as I see this, is that all they're asking for is conditional. Is for the conditional use, and as long as they meet the
And a
conditions.
sign,
And aside.
sign.
And the sign.
And the sign, and as long as they meet the conditions for the conditions, they're not, we have, I mean, my opinion.
Yeah.
Beth, but I think that we have very little we can say or require of them in terms of landscaping, because they are not seeking relief from the impervious stuff with landscaping plan or any of the rest of it. They are simply asking, does what they present meet the conditions for the
Mhm.
conditional use?
Mhm.
And do we want to grant them relief on the sign ordinance? They're not asking us.
Right.
And so we're kind of like, as much as I think everyone in the room and everyone online knows what we were hoping they'd come back with.
Mhm.
I mean, this is what they're presenting, and they have every right to say,
Right.
this is we are asking for conditional use and the sign relief.
Mhm.
Well, I'm
We almost
not,
have
I'm
to
not
forget
sure.
what we heard.
I'm not sure that this was the owner, because the attorney said that he's not representing the owner, and he wants it to be compliant. The engineer said, quote, it's proposed to leave the bank building. Proposed is the word he used.
Yeah.
So proposed means we're leaving it. It's, it's a proposal to us, as is anything else. It's a proposal. So I don't know.
They're not disturbing the ground then, so therefore you don't have
I-
to apply for the variance.
I mean, I'm trying to understand the parking. Like,
Well, they have.
well, I mean, the bank building is proposed now to sit there basically as an empty building, because the landlord was presumably willing to let it be removed a month and a half ago, and now it's going to be sitting there. Is the proposal to use those parking spaces for plus wellness?
Well, certainly, since we don't know what the future use of that bank building would be, I would suggest that what they've represented is they're providing 28 parking spaces, which they can certainly show the board exactly where they would be located. And if they would be a portion of the bank parking spaces. 13 is required. But a condition could always be, once that building is used, come back and make sure that the parking either stays the same or is exceeding the requirements for what that use is for.
But if it's existing, but if it's a bank use, it's a bank use that's not being used as a bank at the moment, but if a bank were tomorrow to come in. There's no change in use, we can't condition, it only would be conditioned if the zoning officer got a change in use application.
Well, or if the parking associated with that use. So right now, the 28, and correct me if I'm wrong, and I might have missed this. The 13 parking spaces required is calculated just for Bless Wellness or for Bless Wellness and the bank?
And the bank.
Okay, so yeah, you're absolutely right.
I mean,
So withstanding everything we heard before and what we thought was coming, we can only consider this based on what they're asking for and what they brought in.
Tara's the attorney, she'll tell you that.
Yeah.
I mean, and that's
I'm just
kind
trying
of
to be
where.
clear where we were.
Absolutely, and that's why I think the board needs to be clear and understand what the relief is that they're asking for. What recommendations they're not going to comply with, and again, the correlation between the two.
Right.
Because as much as it might be very nice and applicants typically do agree to comply with recommendations. They do have the ability, if certain relief is not required, to say no. Correct.
Okay.
I mean, you know, speaking as mayor of the borough, always looking at taxes, this building, the bank building has been empty for a while already, and, you know, if the landlord, this is just to make this site plan compliant, and he has no intentions of renting out the bank building, which we do or don't know he is. You know, I don't see anybody coming in looking for some kind of tax abatement on the bank building because it's an empty building, you know, in the future. I'm really disappointed in the site plan. I can't even tell you guys how disappointed I am. So,
Right. Well, is everybody clear where we're moving forward now? Because I'm confused about where we were and what I was looking at. And I think we've done all. Yeah, it is what.
It is what.
It is what it is.
it is what it is.
I'm
I know you're
It's
not
what it
happy,
is.
because I know you well enough to know the look on your face right now, you're not happy.
But we can only consider the application before us. And so we do it on that basis.
I do want to comment on the sign though. When we,
Yeah,
when
we
you
can
get a chance, I want to
desperate
comment.
on this. Absolutely.
We previously gave testimony on the sign, the moving of the sign to remove the second sign variance will be addressed by the planner.
Right, we're gonna look at that in a little bit, Dennis, that will come up.
I would like to put on the record exactly which
Yeah.
recommendations we're not complying with, just so
That's
the
fine.
resolution is perfectly clear, because again, usually we just say. You know, all recommendations and we're not really seeing. No, please. So I mean, it might be easier just to kind of go through and whichever. I don't wanna tell you how, however, whichever expert you wanna deal with, but if we go through the planners and the traffic engineers and the civil engineers reports and just, you know, say which ones were not. And the borough fire safety reports. To the extent applicable.
Sure. So we can start, this is the top, done a rate report. Which is report here.
Yep, so that we're looking at PV 8, which I guess would be the revised one, revised December 8th.
All right,
Back.
and we do have traffic engineer for testimony as needed, but just as for site plan compliance items.
That would be great.
Just in regards to get on the record for item 4 is deliveries. It's not a compliance item, but we did have testimony at the last meeting. Specifically for the Blessed Wellness, that these come in vans at a larger or even car size. And there would not be a loading zone needed, and it would just be one of the parking spaces for that delivery timing. That delivery could be made, and that's typical for cannabis projects that I've worked on in the past. Item 5, that's just let's see.
Yes, I think
Removal of
that's,
the concrete island, yeah, that actually was meant. I don't know graphically where that come, but that island would be removed there.
alright, but we are complying with 5.
We are complying with 5. I drove that again today. I actually thought it might have been removed with the override, but it's not, so that will be done. And the do not enter signs will be provided, so 5 will comply.
Okay.
At this time, we were not showing, maybe have a further discussion, item 6, a one-way pattern on the south side, a one-way pattern on the south side, so we do have do not enter signs there, so we're complying with that one. item 7, I believe by the striping, I believe we're complying not with an island, but with striping to remove the 3 parking spaces in 7.
Can I just interrupt?
Yes.
Excuse me. On item 6. That was actually referring to the north side of the building to complement the one-way pattern on the
Okay.
south side. So you're not doing that because that's gonna be a two-way aisle still on the north side.
On the north side.
Yeah.
Yes, I did portion of that one way, but. Would have to confirm with the owners, yeah. So right now, we're keeping that as a 2-way.
Right, so no, we're not compliant with number 6.
Correct.
The number 7 are the 3 parking spaces, we are complying. Strike those out. Number 8, we have do not enter signs, and if additional signage is needed, we will comply with 8. Number 9.
I'm so sorry,
Sure.
going back to 6.
Yeah.
The reason we can't comply with 6, I mean, that doesn't seem to trigger a variance, does it?
That does not, it's a traffic flow situation, maybe we'll take that one offline.
Okay.
I'm sure there'll be one or two things offline, and then we'll circle back to it.
If you
I mean,
want-
that's okay.
When we say offline,
At a break here tonight.
Okay.
Yeah.
These tie into some of Bob Clerico's comments as well. And I think hand in hand with that, the idea was, I think, something that's off the table now, which was to narrow it when it becomes one way and get landscaping in there. And that was the same idea with the one on the south side. None of that can be done.
that was 8,
No, that was, we're in 5 and 6.
still 5 and 6, okay. Okay.
And 9 is really just a statement about the signage it's there. And if there is relief needed for that sign to be above the 2 square foot minimum. There 2 square foot is permitted, we have 4.58 square feet, again, to provide better direction for the public. So I think you're in favor of that.
Yes.
Those are the slight items from Jay's letter.
So we're just talking about 5 and 6, which we'll talk about.
Yeah.
Okay. What's next?
Mr. Fernandez's letter of revised December 5th. I think slate
Can you start with section 4 comments?
section 4, yeah.
And just for the board's edification, for those of you that might have my old memo, this new version, it simply updates the old version with fraction, just so the number is the same, although there are a few new items towards the end.
So again, 4.1, that's, we will not be eliminating pavement in A and B. 4.2, we will comply. That's eliminating the old island in the drive-through. The directional signs is 4.3, again, Trevor was satisfied that seating was okay, so we would ask for that. Uh, 4.4, I believe we have the do not enter, but if there's any missing, we will add those, so we'll agree to 4.4. Under 4.5A, we will make sure that they're native plantings. I thought my landscape architect had up those to maple, the native maple, but that's not an issue. If it needs to.
So you also stated that you were gonna match the one tree closest to the entrance to other trees on the site, and none of those trees on site are worthy trees.
Okay, so
None of them.
we'll,
So don't do what they did.
we'll pick a species that's everybody's in agreement with, not an issue. B, again, I think we should, where we added, additional plant. Yeah, without converting areas to landscape, unless you see any other locations.
Yeah, the intention of item B was really in reference to the hope that some of these areas would be converted to landscape islands. I do think that you've largely planted those areas which are islands today.
So B is unnecessary?
Given that they're not converting into pavement areas.
Same with C,
Mhm.
and the same with D. You were satisfied, and then around the bank building, that if you're talking about some additional shrubbery and plantings to complement what we did around the West Wellness Building,
Yes.
that will comply.
And there was testimony last time given relating to the shade trees, and any excess will be donated to the fund. Well,
4.6.
Be clear on that point,
That's
does that 3.7?
Yeah.
You mentioned that, parking spaces requires 9 for a proposed, so therefore, let's just get it clear that then 5, the equivalent of 5 trees will be donated to the shade trees. 7, sorry?
They're providing 6 shade trees.
Sorry, it says here, they require 9 for a proposed, so I was thinking.
That's
they
been
would
most
provide
sense.
5
Any parking spaces proposed required 9.
trees.
Those are parthenoria trees, is that different?
Oh, okay, I need to add to that then, so it's 5 plus 2 somewhere else, sorry.
Yeah.
I just wanted to get it on the record, how many were provided for.
There's certain trees and parking trees.
They're
Yeah. Confused.
Oh, I'm sorry. So,
Refuse.
they're proposing, yes, they're missing 7. Yeah, you're missing, there are 13 street trees required, you're proposing 6.
Okay. Thank you.
We will indicate on the lighting plan, there will be some security lighting provided on the mountain fixture ratio, so we'll identify.
What was can you remind me of what the hours for lighting was anticipated today?
The permitted hours are 9 to 9 AM to 9 PM. We'll gauge it, as we figure out, what's necessary.
An hour, so typically an hour after close, up in the lights, go down to security levels. On those
Correct,
lines.
yes, so
But I do know that the lights are programmable, so you can put them on schedule.
so 10 PM at the latest. Regarding the trash, really for placement, again, with our property line cutting through the site here. Again, testimony that last time, West Wellness, it comes in prepackaged, it goes out prepackaged. There's not a lot, there's some cardboard that goes, there's some straight paper. Or garbage just staff may generate, so there's really not a lot of garbage, so. As we looked at this in placement, so the applicant feels that his staff is gonna walk where they need to walk. obviously, we didn't think it makes, we definitely don't, nobody wants it in the front here. So we have it in the corner. I know you had noted that it might be in the front yard. Does that mean just because it's in front of the building line?
Yeah, it's technically because there's no building between the dumpster and the street.
Yeah.
That it sits within the front yard. I think an alternative that would be compliant is behind the bank building in that bank parking spaces
The
that.
problem is on the outside of.
Yeah, that's on.
Oh, I see, that's outside your
Yeah,
house.
the same with the three behind the West Wellness. Again, those are over the property line.
Do you need a dumpster?
I
I don't wanna step on the board's toes,
Yeah.
they would like to have one provided, but the testimony is that there's so little trash generated.
But where did the bank, where did they have theirs? You know, where they were.
It was removed, but it was on the 14 parking spots. It was here.
It was,
and-
Previously.
We're providing an additional screening. Right.
there's, yeah, so there's the trees in the new hedgerow. There's you've probably seen, this is
Yeah.
a 20 foot plus high
Mhm.
evergreen screen to the neighbors to the south. So it does have good screening in that location. And they'll have to. For the
So you
limited-
utilize one of the spots there,
Correct.
or is there a spot sectioned off for it?
Yeah, we've striped it out to fit it in that parking area so a car's not right up against it, there's a striped out area even next to it. So back into it.
I guess one question, the 5 parking spaces that are on the adjoining property that are immediately adjacent to where the existing bank is, which has the handicap space and the sidewalk access into the bank, you have no rights to those spaces? Or this property owner has no right to those spaces?
Not, we've checked it. There has been common use, but as far as rights, nobody's produced anything to say that they have rights, and we definitely can't do anything over the line that triggers.
So your customers can't use those parking spaces?
I can't specify that they can't or won't or haven't in the past, but we just don't have, we can't physically do anything on those spaces and choose them. It's another lot and that triggers a technical, another borough issue with, just that can unfortunately went down that road once before, another township issue.
Did you include those in the 28 or not?
No. So use potentially, but that's why we made sure we have one ADA space, which is striped, which can, so there's still ADA access to the bank. And, you know, could we technically share this one, well?
That ADA space you're showing is existing?
Yes. Yeah, and there was always a kind of cutout in that concrete island area there. There were actually two there.
So you maintain the included today?
We're maintaining one. It's all that's required. Now that we have two on site, one we could just move, if you will, right in front of the.
So you're modifying the parking in that particular area?
Just by
Through
striping.
striping,
By striping, correct,
and you're eliminating an ADA space in the process of doing that?
correct.
And do we know that in the process of doing that, you still have ADA compliant access to the bank building?
Yes, that's a flat area there, in that whole parking lot area. There's no.
Do we have any documentation on the plan to adopt that stipulates that?
I can provide that, and I can add grades if needed on that, that's not an issue. Sticking on Beth's 4.8. I think we had some discussion on the bike rack. What's that?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Is it shown on the plan that perhaps I overlooked it? and
No,
I did not see it.
I don't think that got added. I think, to be honest, I didn't remember if we're in favor of that, but yeah, we can definitely add that. That's fine. Was the architect had testified previously 4.9 and 4.10. I think his testimony was that the rooftop equipment was hidden in that mansard roof section there, so it would be non-visible. We did look at the 4.11, the reduction in impervious. The number was off by a few square feet one way or another, but it's still rounded basically to the same as we had on the cover sheet. The change in the overall percent that we have there.
The numbers were the same. I just wanted confirmation to make sure it wasn't oversight.
I think I had a similar comment about document. It wasn't clear to me where the impervious area around the building, that we said would remain impervious, the landscape area. I couldn't come up with the same numbers you were coming up with.
Yeah.
So your plan needs to note what those areas are and document what those square footages are.
Yeah, we can provide a separate, obviously, we have a color-coded one, so I can get that to you.
Well, in this particular case, I think you have to be very specific because you are only 200 feet away from triggering that other requirement.
Understood. So 4.12, again, that's where we're not going to live with them.
For the board, this was a new comment. I had suggested that the strike areas be converted to safe areas. And so consistent with their testimony that they're not making that change.
4.13 pedestrian circulation, so we have included the crosswalk that I presented this evening.
And where is that crosswalk again?
So that's just, it's not on the plan in front
It's
of you.
existing?
No, we're proposing that.
Does
So
the
based on reading both your comments before I came tonight, that's the crosswalk which we're showing just on my rendering on the board here.
Does the crosswalk connect to
what does
other
it connect to?
pedestrian areas, or is it just across the pavement?
So here's across the pavement to the existing depressed curb and landing at the corner of the bank. And then it crosses over to the ADA, striping for the ADA space in front of the Blessed Wellness.
You want to show it again on there how you're doing that? It's a striped crosswalk going from the handicap space that we just talked about for the bank.
Right, so circulation for all pedestrian circulation is standard, they would cross an aisle, but from that point, they can walk through the stripe out area for the ADA space, walk through there. There's a landing basically that's existing going through the island.
Right.
They'll cross there, this will be a new striped crosswalk.
With the sidewalk on the other side.
Correct, sidewalks around the bank on the other side where there's the depressed curb. And then that can continue to the striping for the ADA space in front of the Blessed Wellness. They can continue on.
That crosswalk going across the exit driveway doesn't connect to a sidewalk.
Yeah, I'm not,
The exit driveway.
this exit drive.
No,
No.
the rear.
The one that used to be where the driveway for
Yeah.
this building was.
Yeah. So, yeah, this walk around the bank building goes to, there's two doors, so there's an existing walk that goes.
I'm not talking about the bank building, but that's all existing and you're not touching it. Correct?
Correct.
But I'm talking about the new retail facility.
Yep.
So you're putting a crosswalk there across. And how are you getting people from there over to the, you're providing a very nice sidewalk coming out of the retail facility. You're providing that sidewalk along the front up to the ADA space and then it stops.
Yeah, let me make sure what you thought of this.
Have you considered extending the sidewalk right there to the driveway and then connecting the crosswalk to that,
So,
essentially on the other side of the tree?
so they'll connect. And that's just the difference in your plan. I testify, we're gonna flip those two. So that the striped area is on the edge here, so you come across and basically to that stripe and the landing will be here.
But
And continue.
why not?
We're not really getting any of this on record.
Right, we will make sure it gets on the record.
Do we want to take a break?
It's not the
and have
plan that
this-
was given to us a few weeks ago, or is this new?
The crosswalks,
Alright.
crosswalks.
Crosswalk is new because it was a response to staff comments that we received.
Would now be a good time to maybe take a quick break if they're gonna chat and, so we know what the heck's going on.
Yeah. Alright, let's take a pause, we chat, let's keep it to 10 minutes, let's. The view. Yeah.
Yeah, but the only, I think we had on all those meetings.
My name.
Alright, starting recording again, as we usually do, can you call the roll again?
Make sure this.
To be, it is, I see things happening, yeah.
Okay,
Can you,
Mayor,
call the-
Mayor Carroll,
Yes.
Councilwoman Fasaro. Yes. Mr. Campion,
yes,
Oh,
Ms. Giffen,
yes, 8:46.
yep, Ms. Weissman,
Yes.
Ms. Wingle. Yes. Mr. Show. Mr. Schlinger.
Oh my God.
My tongue. Mr. Josh.
I had a swear jar for
Yes.
Mr. Echo, see?
yes,
Mr.
Oh dear.
Yes.
Jeez.
We're putting in a swear jar for you for every time you get a name wrong. You have to put it down.
My tongue just goes the other way.
Okay, that being said, let's resume. We have some discussions during the break that were useful for the proceedings. Do we have to report anything that was discussed, or are we continuing on?
So we've had some discussions. Obviously, we've come before the board tonight with a nearly compliant application that doesn't trigger any variance relief except for the sign. If the board is willing to entertain some sort of impervious coverage variance, we have some proposals that we can draw on the signs. We have done the calculations for the board to review, but if the board's not willing to entertain that, we have no problem proceeding with the other application. If the board wants to see our proposal, we can show you right now.
So you're proposing to do what?
We're proposing to give you more greenery on the site, but the problem with that is it triggers the variance. We want to go to a vote tonight, which is why we have a compliant application right now.
It triggers, okay, what variance would it trigger?
The impervious coverage variance, if you give back more greenery.
Because they're gonna be disturbing more
Yeah.
than 200 square feet and they're gonna.
It's like this
I think
perverse.
I think what they're saying is that they might be willing to do some of the landscape islands that would trigger that provision that would require them to go down to 50%. But they're indicating they can't get to 50%, and I think, I don't wanna speak for them. I think they're saying that the board might be willing, if they give their best effort to make improvements to the site in landscaping and circulation, that triggers that provision. If they don't get down to 50%, the board would be willing to give them a variance. So it's gonna be less impervious coverage than what you see today. But if
It'll
they
be
can't-
better than what it is.
Better than what it is, but if they can't get the 50%, which you're indicating they can't, they don't want to even propose that. Unless they know the board be willing to grant that relief.
So we're not going to insist on them having the stormwater management system that would be triggered by that.
That's the other, like I said, that's the other component of it.
But we've got testimony that they said already that they looked at that and that because of existing conditions and where the inlet is and all the rest of it, that there was not a feasible way to do that, is what I'm hearing. So is that we heard?
Yeah, they're,
We did, yeah.
again, I don't want to speak for them, but that's what I heard.
Is that what you're saying?
That was, Mr. Clark gave a very good summary.
That's very good summary. Yeah, but I don't wanna waste the board's time.
No, I understand, but I'm just still trying to understand.
Mhm.
Forgive me, isn't that where we were at the meeting in September, that we asked you to basically draw up exactly what you just said?
No.
And we asked you that, we said, we're almost at the bin, and we couldn't be clear exactly where it was because you were drawing things by hand on the drawing.
Mhm.
And we said, okay, this doesn't quite work because we're not quite understanding, so go away and draw it up nicely and come back. You chose not to do that. And then now you're saying, let's draw it on the picture like we did we were doing in September.
Well.
Am I understanding that that's the
It's, again, in
situation?
fairness to the applicant, it's a different plan, because the prior plan, they were getting rid of the bank.
Yeah.
This plan, they're not.
Okay.
But maybe
Right.
easier to show it now.
Yeah.
It may be
Well,
easier.
Yeah, but
I
in
don't-
principle, that's
I
effectively
would
where
like
we
to see
were.
what they're proposing.
And I don't think it's gonna be as complicated because
Okay.
areas are striped, so we could go there, so.
I would like to see what you're proposing.
Certainly,
I understand.
and also
I'm
when
just
we-
trying to, I'm just trying to,
Yeah.
Right, because
I am confuddled, because,
confused.
and so you're saying we're also not going to, we're not gonna calculate a percentage totally tonight then, because that's what the drawing was gonna do before as well. So we're
Yeah.
agreeing that we're not gonna come to a percentage, we're just gonna come to a feeling on
I
this drawing.
think we can, and we
Let's
can
do
talk
it.
about the percentage and.
But you are
And
correct,
give a
that
cap.
was the issue before, because we didn't feel comfortable granting a percentage variance. While in theory, we were okay with the concept of granting a variance, the problem was. We were even talking about, do we do it between this and this, and we didn't feel comfortable doing that more to the same, so that's what.
With time, working with professionals and create this drawing that we were then gonna see and know that, and so now
I think
I'm.
at the last meeting, though, it was a real push to get us to the 50.
Correct.
And it just.
You can't get.
it
We can't get
yeah.
there.
Okay, that's what you got.
Alright,
Okay, so again, yeah, we didn't expect you to understand right away until you have the presentation, so understood. So two of them are easy because they're on the plan. And basically, it's the island that we have next to the 5 parking spaces in the middle, and the island that we have on the north end where we took the 3 spaces out that were referred to, and again, according to Mr. Clerico's report, instead of striped islands, those will be curved landscape islands. So not only will they be green, that will now give us the opportunity to add, and we'll see site distances, but at least 1, if not 2, street trees along there, as well as we can continue some, as we had here, some buffer plantings or some shrub plantings, we can continue those in the island as well. So I think those 2 areas are pretty clear.
And those areas are in what portions of the property, just
So referring to my exhibit, which is A9, they're on the north side of the 5 parking spaces in this center of the site. And on the north side of the 8 parking spaces along South Main Street and Route 12. And basically it would be the striped areas which are defined on the site plan that was submitted will not now be landscape areas.
yeah, do the people online understand where that is, or can we, do you have like a red, literally red pen, and you can like draw a box that you're going to landscape? Landscape, and then we can turn that to the camera so that they can literally see it in real time.
So since we have red, orange highlighter.
That's gonna stand out nicely,
leave that.
yeah. So this will all be landscape, will be impervious,
With some nice Acer maple sugar.
as agreed with the Shade Tree Commission. And the-
Not our current list of really crappy trees.
Now, did we have, just want you to know that we did pay attention.
Definition of happy. Art repairs,
Things not on the Shade Tree list.
things
They-
not
they-
from
they-
New Jersey.
You updated your official tree.
You don't build furniture out of.
Acer rooms, that's what we have on the plan.
That would
You
be
got it.
fine,
Yeah.
thank you.
I thought you listened, I listened, my landscape architect.
However, you
Yeah.
do know they do attract lanternfly nests. They.
Which are hopefully on their
I think so.
decline at this point.
Okay.
It seems to be.
Acer roof rooms are one of the favorite places for them to like lay eggs.
So, and those are clear, and I have, square footages for those areas as well. Which we can put on the record, so I think I'm gonna be closer to an impervious.
Let's say as agreement with our planner and the Shade Tree Commission, right?
Yeah.
You don't have to go into the detail of each
No,
one
no,
right now, let's-
I'm just talking about square
Areas.
footages, yeah.
Perfect, thank you.
So, the area at the end of the 5 spaces, we call that area 1. And an area, the second is area 2.
Okay,
So area 1
1 and 2.
is approximately 375 square feet. and area 2 is approximately 1,000 square feet,
Okay,
okay?
right.
After much other deliberation, understanding that that's a start, but to give basically the street trees and other improvements along with the one-way circulation.
So they'll convert that area to one way as well.
That we got approval for that for one way.
So that checks several of the boxes on your plan. And you're,
So you're essentially keeping the same width you have up above and just carrying that around?
So we're changing, what's that one word?
Yeah.
Or are you narrowing that driveway up a little bit?
Yeah, it's gonna narrow, it's gonna come, let's see where, let me just, excuse me.
I can see it, I come sort of,
Yeah, right, so it's not gonna be as, no, it's gonna come up,
Oh, yeah, okay.
yeah.
So you're gonna narrow that driveway and extend that around to this
Yep.
opening?
Yeah, and I'll bring it on so you guys can see closer right there. So that area, again, a rough is 1,250 square feet.
And what would go there?
Same street trees,
Street trees and shrubbery.
yes. If there's room for, there'll be some room for shrubbery, yeah.
You may not need to make a street tree payment as a result of that.
That's what we figured that we had to discuss.
You
Understand.
always feel free to do more.
Yeah,
Understood.
Than what's required by law.
So
we're not gonna complain with this more,
We will
right?
never.
if you're
complain.
adding those 3
It'll be
areas
great
up,
feedback.
we get, and you know, we can set it. No more than, though again, sites approximately 0.61 coverage now. No more than 0.55 would be the coverage.
Mhm.
Alright, say that again?
How they do it doesn't matter.
So we would bring the coverage down to no more than 0.55. And I believe it would be lower, but to go on the record, work with staff, we'll make the, now that'll be a function of making these driveways wide enough for traffic.
The sidewalk.
Yeah, well, that won't change the landscape number though. It'll be a swap, so.
Coverage down
Yeah.
to less than or equal, not more than 55%, less than or equal to 50.
Is it less than
Since you're
55?
taking out the island on what was the drive-through for this building, which was a bank at one point in
Yeah.
time. Can you incorporate an island in there?
That's the
And just
only
net-
area where the owner and applicant's not comfortable doing, to be honest with you. Just with the traffic coming through here and keeping motion going.
And now
But
that.
it is, you are making it just one, it is one,
It is
yeah.
one way, it's gonna stay one way, but that one, we really just wanna keep how it is with that old concrete island guy.
What direction? is
It
gonna
goes
flow?
into the site, it goes west into the other shopping center.
So how many square feet of disturbance is that if you add it all up? Because you did that, because you get your
Approximately.
0.45%, right? Just so we have it on the record.
Yep.
Almost through. 2,250.
No.
Then that's a half there, but I don't really have to be like.
Yeah, 2,630 square feet,
So, right,
more green space and more disturbance.
right.
Yeah.
So yeah, again, just make sure that we have this on the record. The testimony is that for a disturbance of approximately 2,630 square feet plus or minus whatever. Which would then trigger
Excuse me.
Yeah.
An additional.
an additional
From
disturbance.
what we were talking about.
So the total now is,
So that disturbance.
No, I was asking the disturbance number, not the total landscaping number.
Understood,
Yeah,
approximately 4,400 square feet.
of disturbance,
Disturbance.
which then triggers the,
2,000 is the max.
where 2,000 is the
Right,
max.
but it's disturbance that we want.
Right.
It's disturbance.
I'm not, I'm not commenting on the like or not like, I'm saying that for the record, that Kara has this.
that's
Right.
exactly what I need.
Right, so that we are just total disturbance of approximately 4,000 square feet, which then triggers the need for
Stormwater management.
the stormwater, and they're reducing the impervious to no more than 0.55. And are unable to meet the 0.50 that the ordinance would require, so what they are asking for is relief. For that gap between that 0.55, maybe less, but they're not gonna get to 0.50. And what they're asking for then is relief from our, it's variance or is it design standard? I don't
That's what
know.
I'm going to ask.
Right, whatever, but they're seeking relief from that division.
There's a variance.
That's
The
a
variance,
Yeah,
right,
variance.
And I move quick.
right, variance relief from that provision. Where 0.50 would be required, they are proposing no more than 0.55. Is that right?
Yeah.
0.50.
Yeah,
what?
0.50 impervious cover, 50% impervious cover, they're at 55% impervious cover with the various deductions.
Got it.
That requires
And that's a variance relief.
Right.
correct.
Oh, can we, do we notice for that variance?
We can.
Yeah, I'm gonna check, I wanna make sure we have to.
Doug, he said at the beginning, and we're coming in at any other variance that we may as part of this
We
application.
also therefore need to have variance for not doing the stormwater management system that would be triggered, or is it not triggered on these numbers? I just wanna be clear on that.
I think the stormwater provisions of the impervious cover ordinance is triggered. I believe those are variances as it relates to how the impervious cover section is subject to the zoning ordinance, which means it's a variance. There may be other stormwater provisions in the stormwater ordinance, which is not.
We're not triggered by
Yeah.
that.
But we don't need to provide a variance for that aspect of it. So not,
No, right,
Yeah.
and because they're not meeting 0.50, they are also, the testimony is not availing themselves of the green infrastructure or other ways of that are provided for in ordinance, so that's why they need the variance, is what is right?
Yeah.
From the state requirement. It's not based.
It's not the state,
It's
It's a local.
It's not a name.
Correct.
Bob's mentioned before that some of it we're not allowed to give variance, but I wanted to check that we are
are,
allowed to
yeah.
give what they're asking. Alright, so as long as.
Do you have the numbers you need, Karen?
Yes, thank you.
Okay, goodness, thank you.
I don't know if I'll be able to say it that way, I can definitely write it that way, but we'll get there.
Transcript, let's see
We'll get
what the
there.
transcript says on it. Can't see it now, glasses on. Right, so I guess that is now added to the testimony for us to consider,
We
correct?
should probably then, it means then that you are, sorry. Some of the
Please.
provisions of the letters that they said they
Yes.
were not complying with,
Yes.
they're now actually saying they are going to comply.
Correct, and I apologize for the confusion, but we would be complying with all those other conditions.
Alright, so if we go back, I don't think that, well, we're now compliant with all traffic. All planning and all engineering.
Well,
Oh, there's.
Yeah, let's go, sure.
Yeah.
Okay.
Sorry, but you don't.
No, I was gonna say it if you didn't, as much as I didn't want to.
Let's go into the.
Okay.
Alright, so we had 5 and 6 on Jay's report. That we were not compliant with.
The only thing they're not doing on 5 is narrowing the pavement on that aisle where they're taking out the concrete island. I had all in there to tie into Bob's comment that the pavement should be narrowed and they should put landscaping in there. That was the only one they said they weren't doing.
Okay. And we're still not doing that.
Correct.
Okay.
Can I also be clear on the drawing underneath the bank building? I said underneath. I don't know which, but it's north and south from here. On the lowest, what is below the bank building, those concrete lines,
Next to the crosswalk.
yeah, there, are they staying?
Yes,
That's the same.
that's the drive-through
Okay,
For the bank.
for the back.
for the bank that won't be being used, but we have to leave those in as per, right, okay, I'm just checking. Thank you.
And just while we're talking about straight points, we can work, again, since we're not worrying about triggering anything else. The crosswalk, I can work with staff if they're like it here, good, if they want to go straight across, that's fine also, so that's not a,
you could wrap that side, there's things you could do there.
yes.
Right, we'll make that in agreement with the professionals before we
Yes.
sign off on this. Right?
And still no loading zone, right?
No
No
loading
loading zone.
Correct. So that was Jay's report.
The planner's report.
I'm sorry, 6, we still need or don't need? On the tax report.
6 they're doing.
Yeah, okay, so 6 is, so all we have is 5 and only with the exception of the narrowing, we're doing the other ones. Correct. Alright, planners report. We can talk through that. Alright, first one I had was 4.1 A and B.
Yeah, they're doing. I would say
They're doing it.
Doing A?
Yes.
Okay. Not B.
Not B.
Okay. 4.5 B. D and D.
You're doing
We are doing, adding plantings, converted portions, so we're doing B, C, and D, I believe.
4.10. I just have it's not necessary because it's not visible, not necessarily that you didn't want to do that. And 4.12 I had that you're not doing.
No, 4.12 they are doing.
Yeah, they are, okay. I'm sorry, I don't have the revised
okay.
report.
No, that's okay.
I'm winging that part.
Yeah.
Okay.
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 Sorry.
And 4.7 they're not doing. Yeah, I don't know if that's.
Okay, nope,
That's
that
what we
wasn't,
were going to track.
okay. All right, 5. I don't think we need anything on 5.
No, it's only 7.4.
That's it, okay.
Yeah.
All right.
You're all in agreement, you all understand what we're doing.
All right. Now I've got Bob's letter, which I think we skipped.
So on my letter under general comments, 1, sub item, or the new comment 1, under 1, they're gonna give us some details on the crosswalk and the ADA spaces. They say it's compliant and they're just gonna give us details. Correct?
Yes, correct.
2 is just a comment for the record comment, 3, A, well, here again, now they're doing something, so that whole thing is they weren't doing anything, now they're doing something. And you heard what the testimony was, they're gonna do those 3 areas. And the target is they're gonna get this down to 55%, impervious coverage.
Yeah.
55% max. Again, that B, it's all combined. B was talking about what they were doing, but they're getting it down, like I said, 55%. Okay, and in C, they're asking for variance.
Correct.
Because they're not getting the 50% and they're not doing stormwater. I don't know that motor vehicle service is much of an area, but you are increasing motor vehicle service, but you're reducing it in other areas, so.
Now
that-
will definitely be.
That was gone.
Yeah.
And the other one is gone too.
B1 and
B-
2 are
B-
gone?
B1 and 2 are gone.
Okay.
There's a fly here.
Yeah.
And 4.1 talked about the required, again, they're providing, they're required to have 13 spaces, they're providing 28. And I was deferring to Jay's report on that. Again, I was just commenting on the nature of the parking in relationship to the building, but to providing islands or crosswalks or islands that sort of address. So to the extent that they're doing the crosswalks and whatnot, again, I'm not speaking for the board, I'm just saying to the extent that they're doing that you can consider that's being, I just put crosswalks in here. And they indicated that they.
Where are we, Bob?
Went to the next page, page 5.
Five.
Subtitle A on.
It's a 4-2.
Four, yeah, 4A.
4A?
They're indicating that they do not have. They do not have any rights to the parking on the adjoining property. He was item, I said item was not addressed, AC space immediately adjacent to the rear of the building. Yeah. You have existing ADA spaces, but they're off your property to the rear. You're closing that back door.
Correct,
But you have no right to go on the adjoining property.
correct.
So there's gonna be a useless ADA space there.
Right.
That was addressed by the testimony. It's not an issue
It's a
that,
fact,
yeah,
it's a fact of life.
correct.
5A, they had addressed, or no longer was applicable, that comment, pointed out the the 2 parking spaces that are in front, they're gonna correct the dimensions. And you may or may not shift that thing around, I'm not sure if you're gonna do that or not.
But they'll comply in one way or
They'll
another.
comply in one way or another would be. What is the space for parking?
Dumpster is not applicable.
Okay, the dumpster, okay, and the dumpster is at the request of the board, that's where they're putting it. The testimony was they don't really need it. But if the board wants it, that's the best place they could put it. Yes, yeah. I was just observing that it's, as Beth did, it's in a pretty remote location, but it's not something they're gonna basically use. Perhaps a new tenant for the bank. The other building is their keeping might be using it.
So isn't it accessible for the company
Right.
picking it up, for
Right.
the people putting stuff in it, it's a little less.
So you can basically scratch C. 6. 6. Testimony. What was this?
Yeah, I can talk about this. You were asking about a existing cross-access easement with the shopping
Oh, with
center.
the shopping center, yeah.
So I believe you were talking about here and here. There is no recorded easement, as I stated, we're not the property owner, but I have gone back in the history of this. This configuration has been this way, the farthest back I can find is 1988. So at that point,
It's in restricted rights.
exactly.
No, we know it's not recorded, they're indicating by default, through prescriptive rights, it's. Somebody planted their flag there more than long enough.
No,
ago
we
that
can
they're
think
not.
about it to turn off the moments.
But that's not formally determined, right? That's just our assumption at this point.
Right.
Well,
Yeah,
I do have an aerial photo of.
Oh, no, that I know, but you don't have a court document saying.
No,
that you
I have-
Prescriptive rights to use that.
No, I have nothing of that.
Yeah, but that's when First Community Bank opened.
Oh, really?
Of course you know that.
Just put it, the ribbons around.
I mean, not to.
You're the court in that circumstance, you make that.
All right, B, they're not gonna do, B, we suggested, this is where the old drive-through was on the, this building, which was a bank. They're gonna get rid of the island, but they're not gonna narrow the driveway out. The comment was consideration should be given to reducing the width of this, but they're not gonna do that. C. Side, they are gonna move to the north side.
Correct.
The the Route 12 driveway currently is an enter and exit, but you're gonna convert it to an entrance.
No, it's an entrance on.
It's not only an entrance.
Yes.
Okay, I guess I misunderstood.
Exit is the other one.
And there, I was just commenting, they're getting rid of those 3 spaces that are next to it, and then they're gonna do A, they're gonna provide an.
Correct.
And C, they're doing that too.
Yep.
7 was just saying deferring to J, 8 was,
8, I think there was you were getting at, there was to get from the sidewalk into our site, is that where you were?
yeah, somewhere you need to show how you're getting from the street into the building with ADA access.
Yep, so
And you say you have a crosswalk there, so that would have to be ADA compliant.
yeah, so we've provided a cutout here, so we can provide,
But now you have the opportunity, you're widening that island, you can do a sidewalk thing in there, you could, yeah.
of that, we'll add
But you're only gonna do it up at that location, on the eastern side of the site. I was suggesting you do something on the lower side of the site as well.
Here,
Oh.
South Main.
He's a little further around the circle.
He's on the radar.
Keep going up, yeah, am I looking at this
No,
right?
he's too far.
I was. Again, I was suggesting two potential locations, one up here.
Now,
Where you
One
come
up
in,
here, meaning where?
but closest to the bank, on the eastern side of the site, on the
Yeah.
entrance.
on the north end of the property closest to the Bless Wellness.
Right.
Is that where, Bob, is that where the breaks in the circle from Prestige Wealth happen?
There is a crosswalk from.
There is.
There is a
Yeah.
crosswalk.
This one.
You're saying near the crosswalk across 12?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Crosswalk exists,
Yeah,
yeah.
no,
No.
The line up to their entrance.
Crosswalks
there.
up.
Crosswalk there.
and that's the one I was drawing on, so that
Right.
was great.
So 8-1 is okay.
Yeah, I think I was also recommending one on the western side of the site, that crosswalk there, but they're not doing that.
No.
Alright, so where it says the additional connection that you're not doing.
Yeah, they're doing the one adjoining the exit. It's crosswalks. Yeah, they're not doing the second part of this, the
Yeah.
one that runs along the 5-car parking lot. And drainage or utility, drainage they're doing. They're asking for relief.
Alright, so all of 9.
It's tied in with they're going over the 50%.
Yep. 9, 10, 11, everything.
I'm thinking.
12, 13, 14.
10, there's probably some of this is in, some of this is out, but to recommend modifications, yeah, they're doing some.
So,
They're gonna do 10 to the extent that it's compliant with the other items we just talked about.
okay,
Because this is sort of a grab all kind of stuff, and there's some of it they're doing, some of it they're.
alright, so can we say that they will comply with the recommendations of 9 through 14 to the extent consistent with the relief that's being granted from the impervious coverage
10 is
percentage?
actually the 55% variance they're requesting from the 50. 11 essentially is the same thing.
That would be inaccurate.
Yeah, that's at section 2. That's the section we're talking about, section 2637. You can show us the location of the roof leader discharges? I was 12,
Sure,
that's sort of a.
yes. Yeah.
We were asking to show the location of the sewer line easement to the extent that there are no recorded easements, then the action taken, but you defer to the borough to establish easement rights that are necessary to maintain the facilities. You have sewer lines that go through this property that apparently have no recorded easements. Correct.
That's correct.
Yeah.
Again, we don't have the ability to execute easements.
With no easements of record, they can't show them, right?
Well, the borough physically has pipes that go through the property.
Right, but if there's no easements, we can't expect them to show easements, right?
Well, they're borough pipes, so
Mhm.
presumably that would have been
Well,
an easement
I
that the
would-
borough would
I
have
wouldn't-
required.
I wouldn't expect. They're there.
We could, are you asking, Bob, that they accurately show on the plans?
They're shown.
Locations, which they
They're shown,
done, right?
Show the location of the pipes, they just can't show the location of easements, they can't find
Because it's possible that they were never done.
Correct.
Do we want?
Or they were done and never recorded.
Yeah.
That's also
We
possible.
can.
I mean, to the extent that we have the locations on the plans, we can always go back and do easements. I mean, that's
Easement,
they're not
it
supposed
would
to
be nice, because otherwise our guys have to work out in the Polk Street,
brand
which is going
new.
down.
But are we, because of the nature of the ownership,
Yeah, we have.
are we, is that something that we can condition on approval or no?
I have before, I mean, we're asking for site plan approval, this is something I think that would fall within that. We can say if the applicant has, you know, an issue with the property owner, I mean, I wouldn't think you would, all you're talking about is preparing meets and bounds descriptions and easements that comport with those meets and bounds descriptions and having everybody sign them.
Right, but the applicant doesn't have the ability to tell the property owner to sign that, does he?
Correct, the applicant will make best efforts, and if they can't, they'll have to explain to us why.
But it sounds, based on what happened in the break, the owner is
Yeah.
very willing to try to make things good.
They might be.
That,
They might be open to giving us, right?
Enter into the record.
He said he might be willing to entertain giving us an easement for purposes of fixing sewer and water lines.
maybe we don't say giving the easement, but acknowledging the existing conditions.
That's fine. Working with the borough to do what Kara said.
I have no problem with the best efforts language,
That's fine.
but
But if the owner
if
refuses.
the owner refuses, I don't want that to hold up any sort of. approval.
Understood, and I think we understand that it can't, I mean, the reality of it is there could be more damage to the property if it's not given, and there could be. Language in there that establishes responsibilities if it is necessary, that could work to both parties' favors, but. We can, I hear what you're saying and people like what you're saying.
Yeah,
The waters, well, here's a reverse situation. The borough has water easement rights through the property that haven't been utilized. Or there was some testimony the last time they utilized, but not to the full extent of where the easements are, so. That's just an observation.
So we have water but not sewer,
Well, there's,
and there's
the
no,
plan notes that there's recorded water easements to the borough on the property along Route 12 frontage. Around the circle frontage, and there's a line in there, but doesn't run the full extent of it. Whether the borough ever needed that to do something in the future, or whether, I don't know, just.
Can we
The
wrap?
reverse of the source situation, here we have an easement that the borough has not yet utilized. And on the sewer easement, we have a physical improvement, we don't have a recorded easement.
well, I don't think there's an issue if we have the easement in place and the borough,
Yeah.
they've chosen not to utilize it yet, then they
It's-
haven't, but it's in place, so I'm
Yeah.
less concerned about that
That's what
one.
we said, that's what I commented, and it'll now remain as part of the law,
Yeah.
it remains, we're not getting rid of it.
Yeah, so there's nothing to be done with 14.
And we have no, the board has no power. So let me just comment, 15. This was a suggestion to kind of, once this is done, to kind of reseal the parking lot, is that something that the applicant would have the ability to do, or they need consent from the owner? I mean, you're gonna be restriping stuff, you're gonna be changing stuff around.
We'll seal before the restrike. Is that part of the plan?
No, right now, no.
No,
It's restricted.
right, just restrike at this point.
You're,
Did it need it?
Yeah, what's the condition of it between club and?
They fixed the pothole.
We did ask for that.
Thank you, and tell the landlord, thank you for fixing that pothole.
I did it, not the landlord.
Thank you so much for fixing that. Can't even tell you how many people have said something to me about that pothole being fixed. Who never verbalized a complaint, but we're so grateful that it was done. Thank you.
I mean,
With that being
we weren't
said-
asking for a resurfacing, I was just suggesting.
Right.
What you would do to your driveway, reseal it.
Sometimes we've said it's deteriorated to the point that it needs it, but that's not the case, opinion on it.
I wasn't suggesting that,
Right.
I mean, look, it's an old parking lot, anything, could, you know,
Just wanted to be clear.
to benefit from that, but you are putting striped arrows on here, you are gonna be digging up for islands and stuff, you are gonna be doing stuff. And you're gonna be restriping parking spaces, which means you gotta kind of grind off the paint that's there and.
As the applicant has shown, he tends to maintain the property as well, so. I would leave that to his discretion at this point, that I would request.
So that's a no to 15.
Well, it's a maybe.
Well, the no, because it's not a condition of the application.
No, I know, just, I didn't tell me about.
So then we need to go out there and take a look.
I don't know.
Right.
So it's-
Yeah, I was just clarifying, that you still have that.
Alright, 18 we'll get
With
to.
fire official, which.
We'll get to that. Alright,
I don't believe
that was your old one, that was Jay's old one, so I think all we have left is road fire safety.
I'm not sure that I've seen that, to be honest.
Nor do I.
Since these are all safety related items, I would strongly recommend that the applicants agree to do all of them.
Oh, there's a drink, oh, they haven't.
It's a report.
There was a letter from fire.
Yeah, they're saying.
You're pushing it, you always gotta push it. Oh, but funny enough, I saw it.
Oh, yeah, Steve. True.
Yeah, we're fine with all the questions.
I finally sent it.
Yeah, they're all fire.
I don't,
Oh, you did?
oh, yeah, no, I finally did.
Alright.
But I don't. They probably,
It's just on.
not helpful.
Do you want revised testimony from the engineer?
I think we have it solved.
You have self?
Yeah, I think we're.
Okay. My question is, does the board want to hear revised testimony of the traffic engineer, but the board's engineer just told me.
You're happy?
Yes.
You're happy?
I think we're all happy.
We're
happy, we're all happy.
But
You mentioned sign though?
yes, that'll be addressed by the planner.
Okay, thank you.
So-
I mean, I thought I heard something.
But if there's no further questions for the engineer, I'll call up the planner.
I think we covered that. Thank you.
And let's call up Jeff Stiles.
I have a brother.
And Mr. Stiles did not testify before, I think he was sworn in.
No, we did. We heard about the sign, didn't we?
No, we heard from the architect.
We never got to the plan.
You never got to the.
I never got to the planner, because I told them to go home.
Let's say it
Tell me to go home
like
now.
that.
We did not.
Sorry.
Please.
I apologize.
So
What's your name? What's your last name again?
It's Jeff Stiles, Stiles. I think we're all sworn in. together.
Yeah, I think you were all sworn in, you were here last time, last notes I have were Rihanna's testimony. And then we.
No, we didn't.
Yeah.
Did you try to
Come here recently? or something else?
I know, it looks very familiar, but yeah.
Something.
Yeah.
It's- Yeah.
Yeah, I don't.
Right,
have
we
the-
can NCIS sort of, I remember.
Look, let's not.
We're all-
Given the hour, let's let.
can I, Mr. Stiles, can you give the board the qualifications?
Sure, I, bachelor's degree in urban planning from the University of Denver. I'm a licensed professional planner, been so licensed continuously since 1988 with the state of New Jersey, and I've testified all over the state, many boards, and this board a couple of times over the years. I've also represented municipalities as their consultant.
Do we have any concerns with this person as a? Thank you very much.
Mr. Stiles, can you tell me your thoughts on this question?
Yes, I'll be brief given the hours and the discussion, and I think we've gone a long ways tonight for the betterment of our project, so I'll start with that. But yeah, as you're all aware, we're here for site plan approval, conditional use approval, And now we have two variances, one for what is termed a roof sign, which I'll talk about in a minute. And then the one related to the impervious surface coverage where we're at 61%. We're bringing it down to 55, but the ordinance requires 50, and we've had a lot of discussion about that, so I won't go into that. As the board understands, this site is in the highway retail district. This is a permitted conditional use. So therefore it is an allowed use, subject to meeting all of the conditions, which there are 7. I'm happy to report that we meet all 7 of those, and I think there was testimony provided at the first meeting about those conditions and how we meet all of them. Hours of operation, all the requirements of the licensing and all of that. So we, all practical purposes, are a permitted use based on that. As indicated, we are seeking 2 variances, one related to what's been termed a roof sign. If you recall, in the architect's plans, I thought we're gonna be here and they are not, but I can describe. We have a proposed sign on the mansard part of the roof. As you recall, it's a mansard roof. It's mounted on the side of that mansard, which is really more like a facade than it is a roof sign. Traditional roof signs are mounted on top of the roof. This is not. And in fact, the planner's report indicated that, that is a variance that's required, but then also required us to have a variance for 2 facade signs, both facing the same direction. We've taken care of that. You may recall previous testimony that we had a sign above the front door. For identification purposes, we have now moved that to be on this wall. So it's actually facing the other direction. And really that's a better situation. It provides better visibility. Well, so we no longer need a variance for 2 facade signs facing the same street. That's been eliminated. So the only sign variance we need is for that identical roof sign, for that sign being mounted on the facade or on the mansard part of the roof. If you recall in the images that were presented, that's on really on what's not on the roof, it's on the side. And the reason we've done that is to drop it below that mansard roof would make it useless. We'd only be about 4.5, 5 feet above the ground, and you wouldn't even see it with any landscaping or anything else. It's really important from my perspective to have good signage to the site, being it's located on the roundabout. There's a lot going on. As a driver going through that roundabout, there's a lot of different signs on. We want to make sure that people see the facility well in advance so that they can make proper decisions on getting into the access lanes and doing the right thing without causing traffic problems. And as this board is aware, one of the reasons for granting a C variance like this is what I call a betterment to the plan. But really about how do we advance the purposes of the municipal land use law and or your zoning ordinance. And one of those is provide for safe traffic routes and have that identification of things. And I think that's a very important thing from the positive criteria here on this application, that we have good signage. It meets all the size requirements, so we're not asking for anything oversized. It's just that physical location on the mansard part of the roof that triggers that variance. I have 300 architects that work in my offices, and I've asked every one of them, is that a facade or is that a roof? About 50-50 split on what the architect says. A lot of them will call it the facade, others call it the roof. We'll concede that it's a requirement for variance under the roof, but we do think this is a much safer alternative, and from the positive criteria, it does advance purposes of municipal land use law. And relative to the negative criteria, there's no significant impact upon the neighborhood or your zoning ordinance. This is related to a particular circumstance with a mansard roof. If this property had a typical slope roof to it, it'd be totally different. So not a lot of mansard roofs used anymore. There are a few floating around, so I think we're really specific to this site, and it's necessary not for.
Certainly not on 1-story buildings.
Yeah. Yes. Then we talked a lot about the variance for the impervious coverage. And really that's a technical variance again that comes out of trying to do something better on the site than we had. The site has existing 61% coverage. The board was very desirable of reducing that, providing additional green to that, and I compliment you for that. That is a really good thing. To get more trees on site, even though we're willing to pay for off-site trees, this site could use. I think what we've proposed here with additional landscaping has 2 benefits. One is we're reducing the impervious surface coverage, which although we're not providing drainage facilities here, it is a reduction in coverage, and therefore it is a reduction in runoff. So it does provide some limited benefit there. But I think even more importantly is that ability to provide landscape screening around this building a little bit more. Again, it's a very visible site. Right now, you're driving around the roundabout or on any of the roadways, all you see is pavement and buildings. Whatever we could do to soften that is clearly a benefit. And again, under municipal land use law, providing improved aesthetics and other conditions out there is a general purpose that meets that positive criteria standard. And then again, on the negative side of things, neither one of these variances will result in any negative impact to any of the adjoining properties or any of the neighboring area. These are minor variants, relatively de minimis, and actually are beneficial to the site and to the surrounding properties. And from your own zoning ordinance and plans, there really is no substantial impact by granting these variances. Again, specific sites, specific uses, and we're dealing with what's important to consider. This is a site that's been developed for 20 plus 30 years. And what we're doing is trying to improve it. So I think as from my perspective as a professional planner, both of these variances are warranted, and the board would be well within the rights to grant the variances based upon the positive and negative criteria standard.
Thank you. So Mr. Styles, up to comment from the board or its professionals?
Are we to go professionals first, and then board?
I have no additional comments or questions.
My question, I guess it's a question. Can you confirm? So the discussion, the thing between it being a roof and one side, can you confirm the sign you're proposing does not break the current roof line?
No, it does not extend above the current roof line.
Right.
Really, on a mansard roof, you have a flat roof on top,
Right.
right? Then you've got the sides come down. We're on those sides, and it does not protrude above. It's probably a good 2 feet yet above that before we hit that flat roof. So it really, 99% of people look at it would say it's a facade sign.
Yeah, I remember.
Yeah,
That's
accurate, that's accurate.
Yes, that's still accurate, yeah. What has changed, you see the other sign on this one? Well, besides the last thing. If you recall, there was a proposed sign here, we're now showing it on this facade. Okay, and again, from a dimensional standpoint, all the signs meet the ordinance requirements.
So just again, so one is gonna be facing South Main Street, and then now, because it's not over the entrance, it's gonna be facing Rayville.
Right.
There's also a freestanding sign, right, by the circle? Is
Yes,
that
that's
correct?
just a freestanding sign that's gonna be refaced with the applicants, the business use on it. So that's an existing sign that's just being refaced, so we have rights to be able to do that.
I have a question actually with that, the drawings that we had. So you have your name on the top, then you got, cause it's a 40-foot by 104 or 40-inch by 104. So the top you got blessed, the bottom, is that gonna be white where if a bank goes in there, that's where the bank's name would be?
I don't think there's been any discussion about any other use on the sign.
So is it gonna be like,
Are you
the
gonna
whole
fill
thing will be blessed, or will it still be 2 and 2, 20 and 20?
I think as the plan shows it, it's gonna be like the way it showed with that white space below it.
So the question is that, and these are not lit? Or lit?
Internal.
That's
It's
interesting.
similar in there.
So like, if there's nothing there on the bottom, is there a way to have my opinion, it's just like the brown on the bottom, that's just open instead of white?
Yeah, we could do something along that, sure, yeah.
Yeah, are they, is it 2 separate panels or like that's the?
It probably is 2 separate panels, but they could be the same color, but that's.
No, that, and then just on this enter sign, your name's on the bottom of it, I guess the same thing, if the bank or somebody else goes in there, would that then be altered to have both names on there, or right?
Yeah, there is no plan for that because there is no use being proposed to that building, so it's kind of hard to say that. I think of, when something happens, that ought to be addressed if there is.
I think logic speaks that if there's 2 tenants on the property, there's 2 panels on the sign, that's how they use it.
No, this was on the.
Oh, I'm sorry, I thought you were talking about.
Well, this one, this one,
Yeah, I think
they
that-
said they would do, but I'm just not that's a general question on.
Got it,
So that would have to come up if something went.
If
in
somebody
the
else
back.
has it.
Yeah, it's not for this application.
Yep, no, that's all I had.
Okay, anybody else got questions about that testimony for that signage or anything? Look, Dennis,
I do. I do. Was there any consideration on putting the sign on the wall though? Given that you have the one on the corner, the freestanding sign, above the windows.
Yeah, just bringing it off the mansard part of the roof down to the facade itself, the formal facade, just makes it so low. It's when you see pieces of it. You wouldn't see the whole sign. We think that's, doesn't provide the visibility that we need as a business. And also provides more confusion for the driver trying to look between hedges or whatever to see what that sign is. So we think that this is really necessary. There was a sign there years ago that we're size-wise replicating.
But the freestanding sign, isn't it 13 feet high?
Yeah, the freestanding sign is, yes.
So I think they're gonna see the sign with the freestanding sign, aren't they?
Depending on the angle that you're in as a driver, yes.
Okay.
We're trying to cover both of the major roadways and that freestanding sign is existing, so we want to reuse that.
Any other questions, Dennis, on that? No?
I don't have any other questions.
Okay. Anybody else on this, for this witness?
I'll just say to Dennis's point that those two trees that are going in the front of the building there, eventually you won't be able to see the sign anyway, so does it really make sense to?
These, yeah, those could be trimmed and maintained so that they're, I mean, maybe that's something you think about what type of tree those that.
I'm going to vote your sign, big trees.
Well, eventually it'll be above the sign.
Alright.
You flip balloons to see what's on the front of the tree.
Alright, thank you. Does that conclude your?
That concludes our testimony. If there's any further discussions for the board, we'll.
Wrap up, or is that the wrap?
I just wanna make sure, have we technically on the record asked if there's any public that wants to ask
No, we
questions or make any
Well,
comments?
don't we? Yeah, you're right.
Questions first.
Questions.
Let me just check. I'm gonna ask if there's anybody in public or in the room, if you have a question or comment, they can do comments, no, not question, both. Questions for the witnesses, please raise your hands. And I don't actually think we've got anybody in the room.
Well, next.
Either. I favorite. You want to make a comment, you not? Either. No.
Oh.
Oh. That's the only person in the online.
One of the other business owners.
She wants to make a comment?
That's asking.
She doesn't have it, so I'm seeing none, there's none, so we.
Alright, so no comments either from anyone in the public, and then we can let the applicant sum up.
There you go.
Motion to close the-
Yeah, move to close the public hearing.
Well,
Well, he wants to sum up,
then we can close.
then we close.
I'll be extremely brief. I want to thank the board for its time this evening. We think this is a great application for the community. We're trying our best to work with the board as shown tonight. We think our changes will impact the community in a positive way. Thank you so much for your time.
Actually, before we close this, I did have a question.
Yes.
Did you apply for both permits for medicinal retail then? Wasn't that a question before?
I have that as a condition.
We can put it as a condition.
We put it as a
I have
condition.
that in here as one of my conditions.
Thank you, you're already ahead of me, I knew you would be. Alright, so that's it, I'm gonna move to.
No problem.
Alright, now we can have a motion in a second to close the public
Make a motion to close.
Second.
Okay, all in favor? All of
Yes. Ms. Swingle?
Yes.
Councilwoman Tesoro?
Yes.
Mr. Campion?
Yes.
Ms. Griffin? Yes. Ms. Weitzman?
Yes.
Mr. Strode? Mr. Weaver? Yes. Mr. Bachner?
Yes.
Mr. Reckles?
Yes.
Alright, well, discussion. Oh, well, we need a motion or I think that's enough.
Well, I think that's you.
However you wanna do it, I mean.
I can give you your thoughts on conditions that we've talked about, kind of sum things up, things have changed a little bit, but I think we've heard enough tonight that we've got site plan approval. We've got conditional use approval, all the conditions are met. We have the roof signage and the directional size signage variances. And we have the impervious coverage variance that, hoping we all kind of understand where that's coming from now. Bear with me on the conditions because they're going back to September, so some things may have changed. But first, as always, compliance with all the reports except as otherwise set forth in the resolution or on the approved plans, last revised October 27th. We've gone through each one. I will specifically reference in the resolution the ones that the applicant has agreed that they're not going to comply with, otherwise everything else will be complied with. Obviously, they have to comply with all state Clean Act requirements. They have to obtain a retail permit. I have here a split dumpster with recycling, but we've had testimony about dumpsters since then, so has that changed?
I don't think that that's, that's only from the earlier hearing, but I don't think that the conditions proposed by the applicant have eliminated the need for that
Okay,
condition.
okay, just want to make sure. Rooftop equipment noise shall comply with the maximum local and state noise requirements. I will ensure that any rooftop equipment or proposed rooftop unit is screened by the mansard roof. I'd like to keep that as a condition. The testimony has been that it will not be visible, but to the extent that ultimately it is, I think we should keep that in there, so it needs to be screened, again, to the satisfaction of the board professionals. Clients that we did. I have a question mark here as this condition, to impose no loitering signs. I think we talked about that.
That was a public comment.
That was a public comment. Okay, so that was a question, and then a night light test. I had question marks next to both of those. So those are things that the board may want to consider. Windows will be frosted or tinted as required by the state. No logos, any plain frosting. Okay, I think we should keep this as a condition just in case, but the applicant shall pay any money required by the ordinance to the borough regarding the shade trees they cannot comply with. There's been revised testimony that there will be trees, again, to the satisfaction, additional landscaping, types of trees to the satisfaction of board professionals. So we think that we'll be able to comply with all the requirements for the 13 trees, but to the extent that they can't, then they will have to make that payment. I had a condition to fix the pothole, but I can cross that off, so that has been done. Lighting will be dark sky compliant. Amend A7 to reflect. All right, so this I think is all off. This is when we talk about reduction in square footage and all of that stuff. The plans will need to be amended to conform with the testimony concerning the increase in square footage. Increase in impervious square footage. And that increase for impervious, sorry, impervious square footage.
You're talking about the landscaping?
Yeah, so the additional disturbance is a total of 2,630 square feet. New total 4,400, approximately 4,400 square feet. Plans have to be revised to depict that as well as the additional landscaping. Expand landscaping adjacent to both sides of the entrance driveway. No, that else we talked about. I'll deal with that later. Backing out. Trash enclosure shall be vinyl and not wood. Sign off from the borough water and sewer. Will install New Jersey deciduous trees, work with the board planner. That's going to be an overarching, again, work to the satisfaction of the board planner to work on whatever additional landscaping is going to be installed. Okay. Trees again. Security lighting will be on an hour after closing, 10 p.m. the latest. Grading will be added on the plan to show that the property is has ADA compliant access to the bank building. The revised plans will be shown specifically on Exhibit A9. The additional green curb landscape islands on the north side of the 5 parking spaces in the center island. That's going to be an additional 375 square feet. We call that area 1. And on the north side of the 8 parking spaces along South Main Street, call that area 2. That's about another 1,000 square feet. Talk about landscaping, this agrees with board professionals. We're going to change the drive aisle between the bank building, no, between the proposed retail building and Rayville to one way and expand the adjacent drive. Expand the adjacent landscape island there.
That's right, area 3, I would like to know.
Yeah.
Yes.
And then. Make the bottom panel of the pylon sign the same as the brown color as the blessed sign until such time as they may return for another tenant to come and utilize that panel. And I think we should have something in there that basically says that they need to return once the bank building is occupied if there are any site plan changes. We can't, really require them to come back. Or if any site plan changes or if there's any change of use, I think if we incorporate both of those, because if there is a new bank that's in there and they just basically come in and reoccupy. There's nothing we can do there, but the minute they make some site plan changes, or the minute it's a different use, then they would need to come back.
We don't wanna say in terms of a different use that would impact parking, or do you wanna leave it as? Cause I think the use question was parking and circulation.
Well, I think, doesn't a change of use trigger site plan approval?
Yeah.
But if it's a permitted use within the HR zone, it's not gonna trigger site plan.
No, because
I
they
think a change of
testified
use does.
that then provided parking spaces were for them and the bank. And they're over.
We can say to the extent, how about to the extent, because I think that if there is a change of use.
If it's a permitted use within the HR zone, and they don't do any, it's just a use change and it doesn't trigger any site plan issues. It's the zoning officer's chain, in terms of. If it's a permitted use within the HR zone, it's not gonna trigger site plan.
So one thing I do wanna say is unless it's a bank that goes in that building, I think they're likely to remove the drive-through with establishment and change the trigger site plan.
Right, that's
But,
right.
let's see, but minor site plan. Yes. Let's see, to try to paraphrase, a development plan of one or more lots that does not involve planned development and a new street, etc., and is one of the following. A change in use involving no building construction other than interior modifications only, no need for additional parking, road drainage improvements. So if they are truly just inside the building, the change of use will not trigger site plan. I think in my mind, what often it gets confused is any
Isn't that is a minor
yeah,
site plan.
that's what I'm saying, it is, but they have this language regarding some of the other zones,
Oh, okay.
signs often, which triggers almost everything.
Okay.
It's not relevant. Any building addition of 100 square feet or accessory buildings would require minor site plan as well. So,
And minor site plan approval is from the board, so.
correct.
Okay, alright, I just,
I'll word it
it
to
seems
the
like
extent-
we don't, if it's. We want them to come back if it's something that is gonna impact the testimony that's been given and in terms of traffic circulation and all the rest of it, and obviously if something else, if a restaurant wants to go in here, which is permitted in the HR zone. It's gonna have a whole slew of parking and circulation questions, which would obviously trigger site plan. I'm trying to make it as, if it's something that's not gonna impact those things that we were talking about, I just wanna.
No, I understand what you're saying. Trying to see if we have a change in use definition, but we don't.
While we're looking at that, one more question for the engineer, Mitch. In all the rush we have at the end here, you have a sheet 9 that shows construction details for ADA work, sidewalks out on the highway. That's part of this project?
That's on the, believe the county road, not DOT.
Irrespective,
Yes.
you're proposing, this is work that has been completed, or your
Proposed.
client's gonna,
The county required that.
the county required that, okay. So you have other agency approvals here, and that's gonna be something to their review, and okay.
Correct.
Would like it.
Yeah. And it's minor, not major. If it is, don't go construction, then it becomes major. That's how I took it. I don't know if that's what you said, but that's how I took
So
it.
we just say.
Clear, I'm sorry,
Yeah.
because I think,
I'm a little confused on the
Yeah.
condition.
thank you, I'm sorry about that. Minor site plan is a development plan that is not a variety of things, but is one of the following. It is a change of use involving no building construction other than interior modifications. So I think when I relayed that to the board, I flipped it essentially. Minor site plan is required for a change of use that has nothing other than interior modifications. So to the extent the existing bank building does change of use and only does work within the four walls of the building, so to speak, it still requires a minor site plan application, which will bring it back before the board.
Correct.
Correct.
So the only thing that was required by the site plan is if a bank comes in.
If a bank comes in
And they
and keeps the drive-through and doesn't change anything and doesn't do any, yep, then. I mean, I think to your point, Jeff, you're thinking that should be an exception. The site plan approval, but it's
What I-
not. It's
right, no, no,
essentially a
if-
minor site plan
listen,
definition versus a major site
If
plan.
the ordinance says, if that's what the ordinance says in the HR, then that's what it says, and that's the end of it. I just.
I mean, what we can do, if the board feels that, I mean, we could say. As required by the ordinance now or at that time.
No, I don't wanna start getting.
Okay, alright.
It was more of,
Make sure that's what it says.
yeah,
Are you planning the applicant to come back or the new tenant?
A new tenant.
the new.
Okay, I just wanna make sure that the applicant itself doesn't have to come back.
Yeah, no.
I just wanna be.
No,
we just-
because-
But this
I mean-
approval goes with the property. so-
Absolutely,
Correct.
runs with the land, I get
Correct.
that.
And since originally the building was gonna be demolished and now the building is
Understood,
technically part of the application.
understood.
We want to retain rights with that. building
Understood.
In the middle of your.
So if once someone-
the variance, but not anybody else.
Yeah, completely understood.
if someone wants to come in and open up a donut shop, then they have to come in and.
Yeah.
In the middle of the donut hall.
Alright, so those are the conditions that I had to the relief that's been requested. So we need a motion and a second and then to have a discussion on the motion and those conditions. The only two I think that you may wanna discuss in a little more detail with my question marks were no loitering signs and nightlight lights.
And so can I get a motion from somebody to approve this application, everything I understand?
We use.
Right, so that's Swingle and Whitesman.
Now, Ms. Swingle?
Yes.
Ms. Weiss?
Wait,
No, we're not voting.
We're not voting yet.
Just motion and second.
We've got- Now we have
Still have to vote
discussion.
on, still have to vote on the motion.
No, you don't vote. No,
We have discussion.
We move to grant approval, we're not voting on that yet.
Oh, I understand, okay,
So that we can
sorry.
now
I
discuss
misunderstood.
that proposed move.
Oh,
Okay. Too late, wrong word. Sorry. Discussion. On the items of comment, do we want discussion on those? Can't remember what she said now.
Loitering.
Loitering said we want it,
Dennis has something.
and you'll have something about the sign.
On the sign, I'm really concerned about giving them a variance for the roof sign. It's a roof. What they're proposing, there's no sign facing Main Street today on the roof. They have a freestanding sign that they're gonna have, and it's gonna be extremely visible, this roof sign from Route 12 going east, as well as anyone going around the circle. And I don't think we should be given a variance for that. They have a freestanding sign. They could put that one on the wall. And I'll be honest with you, I support everything with the landscape plan, but I don't support this by giving them a variance for the sign, the roof sign. That's my 2 cents.
Yeah. My 2 cents on the sign is I'm okay with it personally, but that is my opinion. I feel that it's more of a facade sign. I understand it's different from what the bank had it on the wall. But in consideration of what's around it and the fact that just behind it is a Staples sign that is in a similar situation, it's massive. And all those ones in the rest of the development, it's not going on top of the roof. It's going on. A mansard roof to me is basically covering up a flat roof, and it just makes it look pretty.
I think if this
Because
was-
it's shingles,
Yeah.
it looks like a roof.
I think if this was a 150-year-old building, 4 stories on Main Street, like the Union Hotel that has a mansard roof. It's a very different conversation than something that was clearly built in the 1980s, it looks like, meaning that they probably put this mansard detail on it to make it look like it's older than it is and look like it's oldie timey Flemington-y, and it's
In
not.
France,
What?
in France.
In France, and not actually, if it was, I would not be in support of it if it was a historic structure in the district contributing whatever, and that there was an architectural reason for the mansard roof. I think that if we were to actually find when it was originally designed, this was a flourish to make it look more Flemington-y. And it's not it's facade, really, even, it's a flat roof with something slapped on, so it's really a facade.
Yeah, it's a
facade with
it's like a
shingles.
flat roof, yeah.
And certainly what I can reference in here is the dialogue that we're discussing, that this is, you know. While another roof, quote unquote, sign may not be accepted by the board. In this particular situation, with the mansard roof being what it is, with the height of the building being what it is, you know, I feel that the variance is acceptable, if that's what I'm hearing.
It is, because I also feel they come with for a variance for a roof sign, but I think they could have equally argued that it wasn't a roof and argued that they didn't even need the variance. So they chose not to argue that.
Well, except by ordinance, it is a roof, and so,
Right, I
right, I mean,
get
like,
that.
that's, if they were. I appreciate that they argued it this way and not the way you're
I do.
proposing, because this is more accurate.
I do, I was gonna say, I appreciate them doing that rather than trying to argue that it's not a roof, but I'm just saying it's so, it is like I said, 50-50, and I think it can be seen either way. Clearly it is even on the board, so it's fine, but yeah. Any, what about the, no loitering signs?
Tara, what's the nightlight thing? What were your notes on that?
Nightlight test, so I guess there must have been some discussion at some point about the existing lighting, probably when we were looking at the lighting plan. And I think there was a comment from maybe a public, is in my public section. That they were concerned about the visibility of the lighting, so I said in those situations, sometimes the board can require that a nightlight test be done.
Yeah, I mean, there are
and
some
see what
residential
it's
homes
like.
around the area, not a lot, but a few.
I mean, but up to you.
I don't know if they were more concerned about it being later at night, like how, like the hours of the time, like, and then whether or not it was appropriate, cause that's when.
But isn't the circles
Security and parking
Yes.
lot dimmed, it was right around that.
I was a little
section.
bit more concerned, it was mostly more about like, they were concerned about the loitering aspect, I think.
Then wouldn't you want it lit so that people didn't loiter?
Yeah.
I don't
Yeah,
understand.
they were more concerned about.
You'd want it lit so people can't hide behind bushes or whatever.
Yeah.
They have, I mean, they have requirements from the state about security.
They do, and
Yeah,
it's
but,
dimmable,
Right.
from what I heard, so,
Yeah.
you know.
Like huge lights up.
And we've got testimony about the kind of lighting on the building, night sky, dark sky.
Exactly. So in consideration of where the plot is, what is around it, behind it to one side and a circle to the other side. Insisting on testing light levels would be impacted by those other areas too, wouldn't they?
I wasn't super concerned about it.
No. Okay,
The other thing was the loitering.
no
Yeah.
loitering signs.
I think that.
Are they
I don't think,
enforceable? What is it, like, would we have to ask the police whether it's usable or useful or? What was the intention there? Do we think there was-
Yeah, I think there's a public, it's like,
Yeah.
kind of like a public section,
There was-
of concern.
Yeah, they were concerned
Yeah.
that it was gonna be like an attractive nuisance.
Yes.
Essentially, like.
yeah,
Right.
I mean,
Not providing like a seating area or?
No.
No.
and it's not a very loitable area.
And it's very, the state regs are very clear about consumption of the product cannot be on
Correct.
site.
correct.
So I don't know this.
So I have seen some towns that will require that, clearly this was a suggestion because of the need.
We have that issue with the other dispensary that is located in town. I'm not aware of a loitering.
No, there has not.
There is no loiter.
No.
No.
Right.
Right, I'm saying no on
Consider
here,
it,
no.
but we don't feel the need to impose it for that.
It's 70 years.
Anybody got any other things they wanna? Oh, sorry. Just now.
No, it's just these are.
Oh, okay. Anybody got any other, I'll go to the side of the desk. Any other things you want to raise or discuss between us on any aspects of this application as it is right now?
No, I think we've discussed it all.
I think we've
Done a good
listened
job.
we've listened.
Yeah.
Anything else on its side, any sarcastic?
Call the motion.
All right, then we'll call the motion as it was already expressed. To approve, to.
Call the roll.
Wonderful.
Call the motion, to call the roll, Carla.
The question is.
On the one you just did?
Yeah,
Motion that was.
motion to grant site plan approval, site use can.
And Al.
As
Mayor Carroll?
well.
It was moved by,
Ms. Whitmore.
Ms. Wingle?
Yes.
Ms. Weitzman?
Yes.
Mayor Carroll?
Yes.
Councilwoman Fasaro?
Yes.
Oh, Mr. Campion left that time. Ms. Giffen?
Yes. Oh, 5 minutes.
Guys, we can't something like three for show.
Go.
Sorry?
You said no.
he said,
Okay.
Schwanger, Mr. Schwanger, please.
Yes.
Mr. Dashna?
yes.
And do I have to do Epple?
How many did we, well, you didn't do Campion.
Oh, yeah, Mr. Epple.
Yes.
Alright, so I got 8 yes, doing something, 1 no, right?
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you,
Thank you.
Time. Thank
We'll
you.
do a resolution when we can do it.
Yes.
Saying- We haven't, our next meeting is next week, so it's, and then, so
It'll be
it's
done.
not
Yeah.
gonna be done.
When did you have a?
We don't have a set date yet.
Okay.
We'll be discussing those next time. We'll submit them to you as soon as we have.
Thank you.
Well, there'll be a resolution. Yeah. Thank you very much.
Well, we have the reorg isn't now.
Yeah, well, is that the 8th? We're done with that, maybe? I think.
The reorg is always noticed in the prior years.
Right.
It was already noticed.
I think I know that. Well, you might be right, I might, that might be.
The 13th, it's on my calendar.
But I didn't issue it now. When is your deal? No, that's Sunday.
Those are not.
Hey, Brianna. Take care, good night, everybody.
No, definitely.
That's fine too, I just noticed that.
Let's go.
Yeah, if it goes, seconds.
Alright. Wait.
This is for.
So, between the November 10th.
Can we just, we keep forgetting, I keep forgetting question to put the chair on something, because I need to do the. We keep forgetting, I'll add it on. When we get the. Let's do bills first.
Sorry.
Second.
Yeah, well, there's a couple issues with the bill.
Okay. Fine.
There's,
If they're open for discussion, I would go ahead.
Alright.
okay.
The best.
Oh, wait, I don't even know.
A couple of the bills, I think we had this issue before where, I believe inadvertently that, there's a couple, items on there that should have been for council rather than.
Oh, sorry about
for
that,
planning.
yeah.
So if you could just review those.
Yeah, I will.
So let's,
I think it was on 2 of them.
let's audit all the ones other than Clark King.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, and I
I think
That's
it's just
very
not.
Two more, but Clark King is.
That's not
You
you,
have
that's.
to call it back.
I like to all the bills except Kyle McCann's.
Thank you.
Second the amendment.
I shouldn't be let out past 9 o'clock.
I put my champions.
Well, yeah, I'm sitting there, I have to be up at 5:15 as well, so I might not go to
I
sleep.
gotta drive 2 hours to Philly, let's go.
Oh. So yeah, other than that, so we have to go through the roll. Do we?
Yes.
So
Mayor Carroll?
Yes.
Ms. Swingle?
Yes.
Councilwoman Fasaro?
Yes.
Ms. Giffen,
Yes.
Ms. Weitzman,
Yes.
Mr. Show,
Yes.
Mr. Swinger,
Yes.
Dr. Smith,
Yes.
Thank
and
you.
Echo, sorry.
Now, we're not gonna do executive session, but I will quickly mention the dates. I did throw some dates out for meetings for next year. But given that I haven't sent them around, I just want to give notice and we'll send them out after this meeting for people to think about for next week. Is that fair enough? And we'll do a resolution. Sure.
You can't do resolution.
Yeah. Well, we can prepare it.
You gotta do the reorg.
Yeah, I know, but we can agree the dates that will go on the resolution. Is that fair enough?
So send that out tomorrow.
We can, yeah, yes. Being as we don't know who's going to be on the board at that point, but there you go. Yes, just let you know, I was thinking about it. We've got some dates that look about, okay, that tie in with council, et cetera, et cetera. I'll send those out tomorrow. All right, do we ever need to go into executive session, Cara?
We do not.
Good, do we have a motion to adjourn? All in favour? Aye. All right, Cara, that's what she's saying. Hey. Oh, okay. Jenny, before you leave, have a second.
Yes.
Are you not?
Mayor asked about us.
Okay, sorry.
Yeah.
Excellent, good, glad to hear it. Excellent. Thank you.
All right, thank you, everybody. Have a great.
Oh, yeah.